There you go. Hey, perfect. Okay. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Is there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
None from me.
Okay, approval of the minutes for August 12th, select board meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for.
I've gone through the minutes and I went through the recording, and there's several material omissions and mistakes in the meeting, so it's too much to ask to just change it by verbal discussion in these minutes, so I'd like to approve this as we don't approve the minutes.
Yeah, it's fine. I wasn't here, so we can't approve them anyway.
Yep.
Yep. Table.
Okay. Yep.
Can I say one glaring thing on the minutes?
For August 12th?
For August 12th.
Where do you find that on the minutes?
What do you mean?
There's no date on the minutes.
On the website? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Emergency Management Coordinators report. Okay.
Oh.
No, be helpful on that. Thank you.
Good news, the disaster recovery declaration, DR 4810, has been approved for Addison County for the July 9th through the 11th barrel storm. The only problem is that FEMA is still waiting for their coffers to be refilled, so they're empty at the moment. And they have what they call immediate need, which means if there's something that's causing life-threatening situation, they'll work on that. But other than that, put your stuff in, but not necessarily get anything at the moment anyway. There'll be a Vermont Emergency Management briefing on Friday at the Huntsburg Town Hall, talking about how we can submit for municipal damages, and hopefully we'll be able to get some money back to that. I'll be attending that in person. The SEOC, Emergency Operations State Operations Center, is winding down, and they're moving back to watch officer 24/7 coverage, and just about to close. In the National Weather Service and Vermont Emergency Management are concerned that there are going to be more frequent and stronger storms in the future coming up from the Gulf and up the East Coast with like hurricanes, and there's a good possibility that Vermont will be impacted as we've seen recently. Sorry about that not being included. That's it.
Thanks, man. Did they, does FEMA know anything about timetables, or they just said sit and wait?
Depends on when the Congress comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck on that idea. All right, let us replacement of our contact list. We're going to update for our next step. We are going to try to update our contact list.
This me?
Pardon?
Like these? Is it just?
Yeah.
I like that.
So that will be what we'll be doing there.
Sorry, so we're just gonna keep looking, or what was it?
Oh, we're talking about right now.
Yeah, we're just, what we're talking about is basically we have a list of contacts we have to do to improve town communications. And that's what that is what the plan is that Maggie has for us. Okay, we're moving on to the agenda.
Yes, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep, living on the list that Maggie has.
We're working on the Virgins Penn Water District representative vacancy. We have not received any applications for anybody who would like to be in the water district. That would be starting after the select board determines votes or approves your application, and then you would be on to the next town meeting, and then that would be an elected position.
Where do you get the applications?
Well, you actually apply with the town clerk treasurer by sending in the.
Maggie has not sent me any.
You requested packet? Okay. What day did you request? We can check emails and stuff. Did you call
I
it?
didn't realize at the last select board meeting.
Okay, so the 12th.
I'm sorry, what's your name? Kathy Kennett.
All right, we'll make a note.
And that would be the fulfillment of the rest of that, I believe it's
No, it's till March, till there's an election, and then you fill another 2 years.
2 years.
Of Betty's term, not another 3-year term.
Right, exactly. And I was about to say that, thank
Last time we did it,
you.
when John DeGraff came on,
Actually, there were 2 openings there.
how
And-
it did not get done right. It worked out, but it did not
Excuse
get
me.
done right.
It actually was done right. Because, well, I will explain it to you so you completely understand. There was 2 people. Matty Perry did not fill in his application in time, so he had an open vote. So John DeGraff said, do you want the rest of Matty Perry's term, or would you like to sit there and take the 3-year term? He said, I'd rather have the 3-year term. And we said, fine, we'll give you the 3-year term. So he wanted to be on board for 3 years, and that's why he got the 3-year term.
It was not warned correctly.
Well, I would be surprised
Well,
in
you
that.
can go to the Virgins Pant Water District if you want to argue it more, but it worked out.
It's never warned at the Gens Pant Water District. It's warned here at the town of Panton because it's our representative, not theirs.
They are the ones that determine the terms.
No, you're wrong on that. Well, I'm just telling you from my experience of doing this for like 10 years. So, all right, let's move on. Okay, the audit. We've had 7 emails from Sam and telling, well, will not guarantee the completion date by February 4th. And the question is, what are we going to do about that? I'm a little disappointed in them. We've been their customer for about 6-7 years now. And it's really beginning to a point, it looks like, that they're really not interested in doing.
Yeah, we
the
got that
audit.
sense last time.
Yeah.
Because they're overbooked and they'd rather not have the business.
No,
Which is-
it's another point. But unfortunately, we're at this time period, we're kind of like in a stuck position, or maybe we can go out and put out some, see if we can see if
Did
anyone.
we didn't ask like if they had another route, did they? Like if they had another suggestion to get someone timely?
No, I mean, there's not a lot of people that do actually.
No, I know, that's the problem.
Municipal audits. So, when Maggie comes back from her,
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you. And John said he can't hear you.
I couldn't hear a word of it going on. I don't hear well, but there's something in the acoustics there that makes it impossible.
yeah, well, we're talking about the town audit, and we're saying that our present contractor, Kelly and Hillman, is not really fulfilling the needs of the town. They're slow to come to us. They used to be fairly quickly. They've been probably servicing the town of Panton for the last 6 years. And but the problem is they would come sometime in August and start to get the audit completely and done. We would have that done by November. So we're not in this rush period of putting together the town report, which is essential to have that thing. That is what the biggest requirement in the law is, to have the audit in the town report. And this, now when they're saying they are going to come sometime in November, February 4th, that's really cutting it close for us because usually we have to have all our documentation in together at that time period. And so what I was telling Zach is probably we should be looking for a new auditor to do this, but it's difficult to find auditors who do government accounting auditing. There's not a lot of qualified people that do that. Yes.
When did you contact them about doing this past year's audit?
I think in June.
They're
We have an
they're
ongoing
contract with
we
them,
have
yeah,
an
yeah.
ongoing deal with them.
They're every year with us. for the
Well, I
past
think
few
that
years.
is probably some of your problem. They probably should have been contacted in January about doing the audit for the fiscal year that ended June 30th.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
I mean,
No,
they need a big
yeah.
time.
They have too much business. They've come in and said they'd rather us not work with them just because they have too much business.
Yeah, we are too
It's kind of
small,
like,
too small of a fish for them.
so,
Yes,
yeah.
What was the amount of the
it's about $9,000, somewhere in that vicinity, $9,000, $10,000 to do that. We went from the idea of,
Wait, 3 years? Didn't we look at, we had that before. Look, before we had them on board.
Yeah,
We had a gap.
yeah, we had, or actually the auditors, the town auditors did that, but that was getting to a point where the town clerk was explaining to the town auditors how to do an audit, and that is probably not the way to do that. So we needed to make sure that our audit was correct. And I have a relative who works for GASB, which is the government agency that oversees government accounting. And basically she was telling me, yeah, you should never do that. And you should probably stick with the same auditor as long as possible because they're very familiar with your books and you don't have to, like your first year, you have to retrain and look at stuff and it becomes a lot harder for that. So you don't actually get a good representation of what's going on with your books. But again, they're only looking about 10 to 15% of your books. They're not going line by line on everything. So that's how that kind of works. Okay.
So, like,
Yeah, go ahead.
what's the plan?
So we're in touch with them, and the plan, that's what we're talking about, is we need to ask if they've got someone else they can refer to us. That
Or
they
we're
can
going to have to,
overflow business, or we'll have to
either we're going to have to sit on November,
this audit.
yeah, this audit, or we're going to then maybe, hopefully we can find somebody, but you know, again, it's late in the audit season because 90% of all the towns do this kind of work in this time period. So they're not like Virginia's where their audits are more in January. They're usually in these July. In other words, we're gonna have to like wait for them to do our audit, and then after that's done, then we'll have to start looking for a new company that will audit us. We were hoping that they were going to respond to us better. We contacted them early and we said, hey, this is important for us. We really want to get back on track and have you start coming over here in August before we start attacking schools, because that's what their biggest item is schools. And so I guess they probably thought, no, you guys are a kind of a difficult people to deal with because you're so small and you occupy our time.
And
Yes,
John
sir.
remembers on the board, we had gaps with this.
It's my understanding that if you haven't been doing the line by line for 4 years, that you're responsible for to do the line by line, checking the accounts, the checking.
Like we used to do.
Yeah, yes, we had to go through every line item, and it was done once a month. And it's my understanding it hasn't been done for 4 years.
I can't answer that. I don't.
Well, you should be able to.
John, I'm telling you,
asking
no.
to do it.
If you want to talk to me, sir, if you want to talk to me, you will talk to me in a reasonable tone and you do not yell at me. Because excuse me.
Don't interrupt me either.
All right.
I'm not your punching bag, because then we'll just,
I'm not punching.
I'll end the meeting and we'll go home. You're not.
You're just overpowering me with another speech of yours instead of answering the question. And the question is, why didn't you do the line by line for 4 years?
So it's my understanding, we've had Telling and Associates, how many years have we had?
Probably 8, 9 years.
8 years. When you were on the board, we didn't have them lined up. How long was the gap with the audits when you were on the board?
Howard was on.
Well, I understand, so I'm asking you, like, how long?
I think I was off in either 17 or 18.
No, I know, I'm saying, like, there was when I started too, there were gaps in the audit. Like, basically, when you were doing the line by line items, like, that was when we didn't have a Telling and Associates to do that. So, when I started?
What's that?
Okay. That's
Once
fine.
a month, we did the line
Okay.
item, everything, every check that
Yeah.
was written had to be approved by us. It hasn't been done, it's my understanding, for 4 years, and I'm asking why. Okay?
Well, actually, John, we do that. I believe she has a sheet for us here to do.
You're talking accounts payable? Accounts warrant?
For accounts, yes.
Yeah, that gets,
Every month,
yeah,
if I may.
we do that every month.
This is every month.
My
Every
understanding-
penny we spend is right here.
But that's what John is asking. It was discussed at the meeting August 12th, the last select board meeting, that The select board is not every month looking at the ledger, looking at the checks, verifying that all the invoices are matching up to the check. There was a checks and balance that we did every month, that John and I did every month.
Mhm.
So that's the question John's asking, is that being done every month? Has that been done every month?
Yes,
This gets signed off on us, so you reviewed with that time. I mean, I don't know how you did it. What do you, I mean, literally line by line, I've never done it since I got here, like, we've never done it that way.
So Melissa was our treasurer.
Yeah,
Do you want to explain to them how we did it? Yes.
we've had, Melissa, you came in and you met with Maggie and us. Is that what you're saying? Like, the basic, like, the accountability of that, and we needed to hire someone to help out Maggie with that?
So I think John and Wendy are talking about the process of doing this. So the process that was in place back when they were board members.
Okay.
Was to, you have the warrant with the name of the vendors, the amount that you wrote them.
Yeah.
The person who had the bills, you would look at every single bill, you would match the name on the bill.
that might have been changed like Pam
As
Korea.
well as the dollar amount, so you knew
Okay.
that the bill that you were being asked to pay and approved to be paid was the amount, was actually the legitimate bill. And, that the payee was supposed to be paid. That's part of the whole.
Mhm.
As you're trying to build transparency and trust, so that you don't have town members sitting in meetings saying what's going on. If you build in these processes, you're gonna build the trust, so that there's less questioning that happens. And that's one of the things that I think consultants do valuable for.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to be having to say, what did you do with all the money? I mean, you know, and that's why I think it's very valuable, and it's something that's done in the industry.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think that's what
Okay. That sounds good.
It's not just looking at income payable as the folks approved to pay, you need to be looking at the ledger and where all the cash is going. How do you know something was not presented to you through the day? Your check, you making sure all the checks are accounted for. No missing sequence.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely look to go back to oversight. Okay.
Here's the Vermont statute right here. That's by statute, the town treasurer is supposed to file quarterly reports with the select board. That, explains all this stuff. Some towns, I looked them up online, Rutland specifically, have their quarterly reports accessible on their website. You just click on the link, be a member of the public, who even, if you're not a resident, you click on their quarterly reports and see the balance sheet, where the money came in, where the money went out.
May I ask why we haven't had any of those quarterly reports for the last few years?
I don't know if we haven't had those.
What was that?
I don't know that we haven't had those. I don't remember all of this. There's a lot of, pardon me? Not right now.
Reports? Not
No.
tonight, but yeah, I'm sure we could, for sure.
Well, I'm here because apparently it hasn't been done, from what my understanding is. And I just find this unbelievable. And here we are with a deficit and a 33% over last year's budget. Is that correct? Am I correct about this? Because this is unbelievable.
I can't give you a percentage what it is.
What's that?
I don't know what the percentage is.
You don't know, and you're the chair of the select board?
That's right, John, I don't.
Well, it's incumbent upon you to be responsible to the rest of us to know these things, Howard.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Thanks,
well,
John.
And if you can't
Thank
do
you.
the job,
Oh,
then let somebody else do
okay. I appreciate your opinion.
it. Well, it is opinion of more people than just mine.
Yes, Mary.
I reviewed the auditor's report from last last year, and there was a finding specifically regarding this matter. And the response was that the select board was providing the independence. Since we had the clerk doing the, the approval and the paying, and, both the clerk and the treasurer functions. So the audit finding from Telling, the auditor.
Telling and going, yeah.
Was that, your response, I assume, the select board response was that, well, you're providing independence. But if you're not doing, looking at the checks and looking at the invoices, I don't understand what that independence that you think you're providing us.
So I don't know, I'm curious, like, this is all new to me, like, I've been here and how we go about accounts payable when I've been here, and people are more than welcome to come to any meeting. It's literally, we go through the accounts payable, we look, we match them up to the sheet Maggie gets us. All three of us each have eyes on looking at it.
Is it just, do you have a check register?
We don't have a check register. We have a sheet of what we send out.
Do you have it? It should be in your packet.
We'll do it tonight. I mean, we'll go through and kind of like whatever Maggie
And-
has on, that she's our treasurer.
Well,
You need a compensating control over.
well, the real question is, so we need to hire somebody?
Well, that's the select board's job, I thought.
Oh, really, John? I remember you reviewing all these bills. Not really. But I gotta tell you, there is like, if what are you kind of telling us? What do you want us to?
You want more oversight is what I'm hearing, and that's.
Is that what
we
you're
can
telling
look
us?
at what we
And-
used to do, and for sure,
and-
I can do that.
I want to know how you possibly neglect our budget when we were always 1 or 2% over the last year, and all of a sudden we're 33%. This is just inexcusable.
Well, I could tell you why.
We can look at the budget and go over that.
Well, the price of salt has tripled. The price of sand has tripled. These items were,
How about the price of dump trucks?
well, they are expensive too. Yes, John. They're 275,
We're turning them over awfully quick.
5 years, because if we don't turn them over in 5 years, what it's like you have the ability to come to meeting and have an express your opinion. But we've decided to do the 5-year here because there's 2 reasons. Can I finish? Like, stop interrupting me? It's just saying, we do that so we have a higher resale of our vehicles back to who we're selling for. Because we get 5 years of use out of it, we put a lot of miles on them, and what happens, we're running salt with them, so they get kind of beat up, and we get rid of them at a higher rate before we have to start doing repairs and major work to the vehicles. That's why we do it in the 5-year plan, and we've been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years to do that, so we can rotate them out and get out, before we have to like do major equipment, or they're not worth anything in a trade-in, because sometimes they're worth nothing.
Explain that, Alan. I think you tried to explain it. It still doesn't explain the fact that we have a 33% increase. In Burlington, a much larger municipality is 7. Most of the surrounding towns are 4 or 5%. And we are, where do you think we are? And how
I
do we-
think we have a 33% increase, I don't know, but I think it's up to the select board, there needs to be a line by line budget, where that 33% overage is coming from, it needs to be verified. That's a huge amount. And you can't just sit there and say, I don't.
What?
Right.
Oh, okay. Thanks, we're done. Page what? Oh, this is working with Becky?
Yeah, but she talks about, where we were at the end of that.
Okay. All right, this is from Maggie, current analyst at the end of, for year 23, the town was over budget by $22,000. At the end of year 24, June 30th, we were under budget by $27,000, which means the town starts for the year 25th, July 1, 24, with a positive 5,000 extra in the general fund.
It's not
I
sustainable.
don't agree with that, 100%, do not agree with that, and I've spoken with Becky just a few days ago.
Mhm.
She said she is not even up in bed, speaker 24, there are still a lot of things that need to be fixed. in those
Well,
practices.
I'm just reading what the information I have.
And who wrote that?
Maddie,
And they wrote it, that's.
Who,
Those are the
let me ask
numbers.
a question, who approves and signs checks? Who approves the invoices and signs checks?
well, actually, the clerk and the assistant clerk do.
They both approve and they both sign.
They go separately, that one person signs and they oversee it. One person opens up the bills that come in.
Why can't the select board sign checks?
We've never signed checks.
Why can't you?
Well, because that's not really, I don't think you want select board members to have the authority to take money out of accounts, do you?
I didn't say approve the invoices.
I'm just saying, once we're signing checks, so you want a select board member, I, Howard Hall, puts on a check and I'm gonna sign it, and I take out $1 million and walk out the door?
No,
I don't think-
you're gonna prepare the check, somebody's gonna prepare it for you, give it to you. You're not gonna have access to the checks, Howard. We're not gonna do that. How's that?
These are all good ideas, thanks. That's all I can tell you.
Again, I don't hear any solutions, I hear just, don't know.
Well,
That's the way it is.
Well, you know what I would tell you, sir? I don't have a solution because you just told me these things like 15 minutes ago. And
This is a basic thing of a select board's job.
if you think I'm not doing a very good job, or Zach, and I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah,
you
I just find it curious. I mean, it's interesting. I love those people here. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
3 people in the past 3 years. No, John, listen, John,
Excuse
John,
us.
you know better than anyone. If I'm speaking, just relax and let someone speak. If someone's speaking, just relax, okay? I love that people are here and engaged, and I find it all is very positive and optimistic and constructive. And I think this is great. I mean, obviously, I think we all know we're not gonna decide to do something, change immediately. We're gonna take it in, we're gonna talk to our treasurer, who's not here tonight. We're gonna talk to our 3rd select board member. Like, our local government isn't, boom. John knows this better than other people as well, if he's been on the board. So I think what we're gonna do is digest this. We appreciate the optimism and outreach, and I love having engagement because we haven't had it as long as I've been here, as long as you've been here, like very few times, and I love it. I'm glad people are here, and I think it's a great point to bring up, and I think we're gonna absolutely look at that. And Melissa's been a great help. She's actually retired, but she's back in some books, helping us out with some consulting, and I think it's great. And I think we're gonna try and get on top of it best we can. And so I appreciate it, I applaud it, and I thank for the engagement. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere by saying like, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, and we know that. We know that's the culture and climate, we know that's not gonna happen. So I'll let John speak, but I'd like to move on and take these comments and not form a decision on that. Go ahead.
Specific solutions that we can't afford as a community, this 33% increase. What do you?
Okay, yep.
Well, you know what? You know what? It's our meeting, not your meeting.
Kevin,
You can't
yeah.
talk at the same time. I can't hear you both. So if you'd like to talk, just give us a second, will
We
you?
need an action item that shows us where the 33% is. That's an action item for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds
We need
good.
action items, not just we'll get back to you, which never happens.
That's it.
That's right.
Okay, great. All right, I appreciate it. Okay.
So is that on the agenda for next month's meeting?
We can
We want a
certainly,
line by line item where the 33%
Kevin.
increase is coming from.
we're gonna meet with our treasurer when she's back. We're gonna meet with Teresa, and yeah, we'll put it on the agenda for sure. That's easy. Any one of you can call us and email and say, can we put
I
it on the
want
agenda?
to report out in this meeting of what that is.
And let's add it to the agenda. Let's do it. Thanks, Kevin. John, do we have something else that's not negative?
I just can't understand the reasoning that when we have, it's a historical fact, that this town is kept within its budget from year to year at the top, probably 5%. How can you face us and come up with a 33% increase? I just don't get it.
And what's worse is to say, I don't
Do
know.
we- is that even official?
No,
It's not even official. I don't even know. I don't even have that in front of me. It's all conjecture. I'm not sure, like, when I have the report and it comes in here, I mean, so let's do that. And when it's time to go over the budget, we'll sit and go through and see what's the fat we need to trim out. It's my understanding, right?
absolutely.
I don't have the budget in front of me, so I have nothing we can do here. John, I don't look at the budget every week. We get a budget report from Maggie if we're up or down, and we look at certain things here and there, and then we get presented. That's a possibility as well. Maggie is our responsibility. You're right.
So that's why we're all here.
Mhm. We're all working for the we're all working for the town to get better. We're all working for the town to get better. I mean, again, so let's try and get there, okay?
Can we hold
And not
aside
like
conversations down?
throw spears.
I'm embarrassed.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. I really love that you said that. It's great. It's a beautiful statement. Okay. Let's go ahead and set the tax rate, tax bill mailing agenda item number 9.
Right.
So,
Kevin, what do you
can I
got?
ask you a question?
What do you got? Do you want to come up here?
When is the budget approved and how does that all work?
Actually, it was done in our, we had an election on that, and if you voted, you probably approved it.
And that budget is what you're setting the tax rate on today?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, that's in March, right?
Yeah.
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 And that's the one that shows the 33%.
I don't think it did, like, that's what,
No.
I need it in front of me. I've never seen or heard that number, so,
Well, when you set the tax rate, I will leave it, but the budget.
That's right.
I will leave it, which I should be.
That's right.
The budget's saying you're saying it's very low.
This is March.
This is your fiscal 25 budget.
Okay.
That was in the town report.
Yeah,
So you take last year's budget and you divide it by this year budget, and you get an increase of 32.9%.
and how much dollars is that?
257,000.
The truck.
Yeah, that's the truck.
No, the truck is 90.
Okay.
I mean, you have in here, you have a 90,000. It's
We've done-
60,000.
No, that is the small dump truck.
No, there's 90,000 for this is your operating budget.
Yeah,
Your operating budget, not your reserves for the truck and all that, and the loan and all that. This is what you asked for the bucket, that's called operating. You asked for 90,000 for the 2023 dump truck is what the word is saying. 2024 pickup, 60,000. So that's 150,000 for those pieces of equipment.
yeah, okay. So that's a chunk.
Yeah. But these are all the items where they are. I mean, it's
And
just like,
since,
these are the plus and minuses.
Yeah.
okay, you know, again, I'm not an accountant, and
No, these are just.
I'm just giving information, what I'm given.
No, this is your budget that you adopted.
There's something.
Right, this is what you presented to the board.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't-
I don't think so, John.
because nobody gave a presentation last year at town meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
Now you understand where the 33% comes from?
no, I don't. I would actually have to like see some documentation other than some kind of, 5 minutes.
Maybe this isn't the job for you.
You know, John, if you're gonna be insulting towards me, I'm gonna ask you to leave, because I'm not insulting to you, and I prefer not to be treated that way.
I asked for, I've been asking for this for months. And I finally got this email from Maggie, because in the town report, it was left blank. It was not itemized out. It was all blank. I asked about it at the town meeting.
Yeah.
So I finally did get this email from her that lists these out. And so here we have a $35,000 increase. That's just in these salaries. Part of it is $7,500 for an SB discretionary fund, which is new this year, but it does not tell us what that's for. So there's just one example of an increase. And that was not, that section was left blank in the town report. I had to ask for
Okay.
that.
Maggie, will speak to that.
Okay.
Town hires a treasurer, so we're happy to have her come and help out as well too. So, I mean, ideally, again, like, I think we're well aware, like, we're working for the town best we can. If it's disappointing, I'm apologize. And we got open elections and we hire Maggie the best of our ability as our treasurer. We trust her as much as we can. And if not, we'll have to search other ways. And we've been lucky enough to have Melissa in town helping with numbers, and we're looking at additional hires and help and consultants for the town. So that's kind of what best we can look for.
I have a question.
Yeah, good.
Is there plans to hire a separate treasurer and a clerk? Because I think that's a real red flag to have one person be the clerk and the treasurer. So is that what are you talking about, Zach?
We've talked about a form
Hire
that,
a
yeah,
treasurer?
like what other towns do and what that looks like. There's possibility, and then delegating business where we want, and what makes sense for.
And I will
person.
tell you that hiring people, finding someone who's qualified, knowledgeable, I don't care if it's a road foreman or a highway crew guy. We went through probably 6 or 7 people who wanted to be on the highway crew. We even had an 18-year-old kid that wanted to be on there. And that, wasn't interested in doing it. And you know what? For people not showing up, and plus what we have a hard time doing, competing against other wages from other towns. You can't pay somebody for, $20 an hour when somebody else is paying $35 an hour when you have limited amount of employees. It's just not going to work. You can't beg them to work.
Yeah, that's been.
I have
So,
expensive
yeah.
equipment. I just can't give anybody the use of.
Well, part of this, just to say again, I mean, the bloated salaries and health insurance that we're paying now, and just going through all that negotiation, it's been difficult for sure. But again, like back to this point, like to hire and look to hire someone without paying through the teeth has been difficult
If I
for
could
sure.
finish for my question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Please.
you asked earlier what it is that we want. I'm just going to speak to for myself. Having served on the select board and hearing what I've been hearing about how some things are good, my concern is there's no transparency and there's no checks and balances. So it's news to me now that we have a 33% increase from last year's budget to this year's budget, whatever the dates are. So that obviously concerns me, because if there's not oversight or management or controls over the checkbook and the signing of invoices, and if you have one person doing it and that person is combined treasurer and clerk, and if you're not doing the oversight that I expect from a select board, which I used to do as a select board member, and then we see that we might have a 33% increase, that's concerning to me as a tax-paying resident here. And that's why I'm showing up, and that's why people are asking questions. So understand that John is a little heated and he's concerned. We all are. But you can't threaten to throw John out because you don't like what he's saying.
It's not what he's saying. It's probably the way he talks to me. I would love to listen to you.
And I will say that as a public servant, that's our job. Our job is to listen to the feedback from the people. They're angry, they're upset. And your job as the Canton Select Board is to listen to what this community is saying. And sometimes it doesn't feel good, and sometimes it's going to be hostile, but that's your job as a public servant.
And I would say, I would listen to you argue and have that discussion. But when you raise your voice and have a tone towards me or insult me in some form, I'm not going to tolerate that. Why would I? I do this as a volunteer. We are volunteers here. And we are doing the best we can for this town. And we're trying hard. And you know what? We put in a lot of time, Zach does, and I put in probably twice as much time as he does to make sure things happen, make sure things get going. And if all these things happen, that all of a sudden magically happens for our town. And it's like the point is, yeah, am I perfect? No, I'm not. But I'm also a volunteer. Do I have a lot of accounting skills? I have 1 year of accounting in college, and that was a long time ago. So, for all these things, I have looked and tried to hire the best people we can get to do the best jobs that we have. We're really required to do a lot of things. And yes, we're going to have to do this magic thing called pay them. We're going to have to pay them good wages and benefits. And if we don't, you're not going to get people to do things that you need for your town. And if you don't think that's not the truth, get rid of them all and hire them for $20 an hour, and we'll see how good the snow plowing is and the mowing and taking care of all our equipment
Maybe
and
on that.
fixing things.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I appreciate that comment, Wendy. I know you've been on the board, and I absolutely appreciate it. I personally, like, I've asked to not run again the past 2 times, and I know, I mean, Howard and Teresa of like talking back at running as there's no one running in a position. I felt fine, and I have friends and neighbors, and they asked like, what do I do in spare time? It's like sometimes, you know, I spend time in the select room, and they're like, why? These are young people in hand, why? And I'm like, I try and help as best I can and help these two work. You know, the board, I have 2 young kids, like, you know the deal. I mean, it's like, and I appreciate Melissa coming in, looking at books, and she's not paid to do that. Like, she just has an interest in numbers, and it's super helpful. But we're all trying to like hopefully get in a good place. And I think what Howard's saying is again, I think we all know that personality wise, when you get a little back in the corner, like, you're not gonna like just absorb stuff, especially we're not elected to do that. Like, we're not that in the governor's office or like that. I get it, you know what I mean?
Well, you are.
But I absolutely, I know, I'm saying like elected in a certain Montpelier realm. I'm saying like, I think this is all like great information. It's different how you and John work, and I appreciate how that worked. We had Pam come in when we combined that clerk treasurer. We struggled to find Pam, like, to do that. We struggled to find a separate clerk and a treasurer. And again, same with Maggie, like, we had consultants and headhunters out saying we were extremely lucky to get someone like Maggie, extremely lucky. And I said, we'll have to, and we are extremely lucky to hire someone to work with Rick at the road foreman. So,
which is going to eventually replace Rick.
I mean,
we had to have the idea that Rick is going to retire soon. And to find a new road foreman, it's going to be hard, and then you just can't pick one, you know, relatively easy, or towns get kind of crabby when you pick their employee from their town to bring them over to your town.
But you get it, I mean, John, I just
So-
wanna say, like, what we've been dealing with, what I've seen in the past, like a post-pandemic, and trying to hire people with health insurance and salaries, along with new equipment and road equipment, has just gone through crazy roofs. And it is in the March budget, so Melissa brought up, like, that's the fiscal year budget with what we had to deal with. And that's after Rick presents that to us, and we go back and forth with Rick. Rick cut out a lot of stuff. We pushed back a lot of paving items. There's things that get trimmed, and just like, we can't present something like this. I mean, you know, so again, like, I like the call it criticism, and we probably can be much more oversight and be more transparent for sure. And I think what we can do is the website's been hopefully a valuable tool. We'll try and keep that going even more transparent, and that should be easy when we're not here.
Because this is why people don't come to these meetings, because I've had my hand up for 5 minutes.
So I'm supposed to cut off a
You
conversation with
control the
Wendy?
meeting
John.
And the discussion without even acknowledging my hand.
I've seen your hand, John,
Yeah,
when I'm
but
speaking.
you were one talking and then Howard talks. And I only wanted to add one thing. It was my understanding that you hired Maggie. She was one of about 30 applicants.
Incorrect. Incorrect. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, 30 out, but like,
Let me know, Chief, Howard, you had touched on this, you didn't want to consider. I understand, Chief, when I left my job, it's impossible. It's hard to find quality. I understand that completely. It's very hard. The other thing you may want to consider, it may be expensive, it may not be. I don't know. It's something I think we need to start looking at. Town of Waltham, for example, hires out 2 people a week to do all their work. They don't have a road commissioner anymore. They don't have their own recruiter anymore. They hire it out, and that may be what's coming to the town of Canton, if you can't find the people.
yeah.
I
it
don't
might
know. The same is true as if you don't have time to review all these accounting records, maybe you hire somebody to come in for 8 hours every quarter from the CPA firm, do that, and report back.
So that's interesting. We put that out there, and we're looking.
But there's
So we're waiting to see,
other
like,
ways of
for
getting
sure.
around it. It may be expensive, I don't know. It may be what we have to live with.
I think you know the answer, it will make sense, and that's the kind of, yeah.
And the discussion about the road crew people, I think it was probably decided that the amount of money it would cost for us to go to a private contractor to do this. And some of the discussions that we had with contractors is like, we decided that as a select board to actually stay with the contract people who do our work, because Waltham doesn't necessarily get all the service they need. Their roads aren't mowed, they aren't doing, you know, it gets pretty pricey. I think we have twice as many roads as they have. And, you know, Dave can maybe say something like that, you know, be
Yeah.
helpful on that. But
If you hire a private contractor, you are not going to see the roads kept up the way they are. The private contractor will say at 6 o'clock in the morning plowing. A lot of people gotta be to work before 6. They aren't gonna drive on plowed roads.
you know, Klucher gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking outside his window of his house, and then he sits there and goes, okay, and he's out there with the pickup truck, which he takes home, so he can hit the streets on the east side of the town before he hits the west side. Yes, Mary?
Do we have any idea what our total budget for the road is per mile?
I have no idea.
Can we calculate that? Because I think we gotta be comparing that to Addison, and New Haven, and Waltham, with private contractor.
Yeah.
We gotta know where we are.
I mean,
If we're spending 10 times, I'd do with one less plow a year. I'm just saying, if you don't have the data, you can't make good choices. And to me, dollars per mile for the road per year is a good number. It's a benchmark number.
Yeah,
That you can then compare to similar towns, and yeah, Waltham maybe have half as many roads, but once you make it per mile, then you can start putting comparisons.
yeah,
Addison might be.
it'd be a great number to,
comparison.
yep, we can look at that.
mhm.
That's a great idea.
But we try to economize. We get salt from New York, well, everybody gets salt from Shoreham, you know, so there's a lot of things that Klucher and Jeff Stone do. This. Well, actually, out of all the towns, we probably use the least amount of salt, wouldn't you say, Dave?
I would say we use less salt. I think salt is
Probably
very.
take.
I mean, Dave does part-time plowing for us. He knows that we do a lot of highway sand, that we use a ton of it, and probably mix a little bit of salt in the highway sand, and we spread it that way, but that's what most of the stuff we use. And the reason we did some of the other things with the idea of the salt shed was an example is mainly it's not for salt, it's for sand, because we were getting so much sand and we had to keep it. We had to dig it out to get to the soft stuff because it would freeze up about 1 foot or 2 feet deep every time. And so we didn't have the ability to get it out. So it was cheaper in the long run to sit there and hold the sand. Plus, there was requirements of runoff from salt and sand that would go into Dead Creek from our lines, actually from our culvert area there were the water runoff. So that's why we purchased those items. And so that was some of the ideas. And we purchased the other building to keep all our expensive equipment inside to protect it from the weather, as everybody would understand. You know, if you have a grader, you don't want it to sit outside in the weather year round and let it go to heck just because of that, because the sun has factors on tires and wrecks tires. So this is why we did what we did there.
I don't think we can afford that. That's the problem.
According to the town report, the budget that was printed in the town report, there's a section on highway admin garage expense from, it went up $159,000.
And
$159,000.
I don't know what it's from. I don't know if it's from fuel. Well, Sharon, I get that, but that's just a big number. And you're saying like, oh, it went up $150,000. It's like, well, where did it come up from?
So
Was
that
it
would be a question to ask
salt?
your road
Yeah,
guy.
that doesn't even
Yeah.
include the, road construction maintenance items, like the salt and all that.
Well, so here's what, yeah, so here's what I can say about that. I mean, that was printed in March. It's the perfect time to, I mean, that's kind of like, well, we have town meetings before it gets voted on. Like, we have that discussion of let's figure out if something is really out of whack and looks crazy and
Well, I
let's
tried
talk
to
about
have
it.
a discussion on the town salary section that we left blank. And when I asked the question at town meeting, I was told that was private information.
I don't
Which
think,
is absolutely not true.
No, that's
Not
public
private
knowledge.
Yeah, it's public knowledge.
yeah. I think she gave you a number of total amount of salaries.
You can't hide that, yeah.
I don't want to.
I think the key.
But under the Freedom of Information Act, you're going to have to actually write down exactly what you want, not by a phone call, not by, hi, I'm walking in to do that. You have to actually fill out the form to say, this is the information I need.
It's always in there, it's always in there, all the
Yeah, it's
stuff.
never been blank. That's why I asked that, why is it blank? It's never been blank.
So I guess that's
Yeah,
another
put the mark.
question.
So I think the lesson of all of this is really deep. Is anytime meeting, I need to get very close to the budget. Make sure I will be here, I will examine that thing line by line.
Good.
But what I expect is answers to all my questions.
Well, I would really love that you come to town meeting, because I don't think I've ever seen you at a town meeting. But I would also say this, at some of our town meetings, we have like 15 people showing up, 20 people showing up. If they seem so disinterested in it, we are just going around the business. Since the solar field started, this is the most we've ever had of people coming to our regular select board meetings. It's usually Zach, myself, Teresa, Maggie, and that's it. Bob is there, and that's about it. And it's just like, we go through the whole process, and occasionally, Rick Lucia will show up once a month and give his report on what's going on with the town, and that's basically it.
Solution, I get tired of hearing this. That's not solution. The solution is when the budget is presented. For example, this year, when that budget was presented at town meeting, there should have been a discussion from the select board explaining where the 33% was coming from to everybody in the audience. And I bet you the budget.
I'll give you a solution right now. Ready? Get involved with your town and participate. Just don't lie it on three people.
I'll say this, Kevin, just for right now. So Kevin, hold on.
Participate.
We're
Come
gonna
to the
have-
meetings and help us.
Hold on, Kevin, Kevin, hold up. We're gonna have an item, next meeting where we'll have hopefully Maggie here, Teresa here, and we'll be able to talk to that 33%, okay?
Please come to the meeting.
Yeah, and bring the town report. We have an.
Please.
I'm here, Howard.
This time you weren't here last week.
Okay.
You weren't last week.
All right.
Good, please do.
So in decisions we make, we just do the present?
Yeah, we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Two out of three.
Yeah.
Well,
We're putting it.
some things they said that they can't make a decision without the three. So that's why I'm asking.
No, we have a quorum, 2 people.
I know, but when it comes to the solar field, you say you can't make a decision unless there's 3 of you.
Well, there's, Kathy, I don't think there's any decisions to be made yet on that. We haven't even had anything.
What are we gonna decide? I don't.
If there's, we can make a decision too, for sure. I think what we wanted to, we had that special, I know, Kathy, we had that special meeting because we hadn't had the 3 of us this summer here at once, so we wanted to make sure we're all aware of, exactly what we're talking about on that front. Okay. Set tax rate billing number, 9.
Yes.
Did we do 8? No, we did 8.
Which I'm thinking is gonna be interesting, because you're gonna get a lot of calls from a lot of town people to get that tax, so that tax rate.
What do you think the tax rate? That's in the town meeting, right? We already know what that,
No, you gotta have number 8 on the agenda.
yeah, so number 8.
Okay.
We need to confirm that number.
Can I say something before we move on?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't when we're voting at, on our budget, at town meeting time, it's too late, we've already made the decisions, correct?
You can vote no, yeah, and then we have to, it's kind of like the school budget that got turned down.
This way is because that we have no complications. Because it'd be just like, if you had town meeting the way it used to be, you'd be up there answering the same questions.
Yeah.
And the reason why we did that way, because people hijacked the budget and they were going to spend money that we did not have. And that was becoming a huge problem. And we said, if you want to do the budget, you can decide the budget. But most people, they don't come to town meeting. We were having 20 people deciding a town budget. It's like, that's really not a good percentage of the amount of people.
The most important ones in the town.
Yeah.
Remember that. The ones that don't care are the ones that don't come.
Or maybe,
Some of them don't show up, some that don't show up are working people that don't have the time.
Well, that's why we switched. So we used to do it during the day.
Yes.
And it's just like,
there was no advantage to do that. And so we said, you know what? You're gonna look at the budget. It's your responsibility to look at the items and come to those select board meetings and ask questions. And if you don't come and ask those questions, how are we supposed to know?
Well, the other part too, so you know, we have toward the end of the year, we do, and they're public budget meetings where we only focus on the budget before we put it out there. And so that's something that's public as well, and more than welcome to have people come in and nitpick, go through that with us too. That's when road foreman comes in, presents all of their information and their requests, and we pour over that. We have about 2 or 3 meetings that are just budget meetings for the end of the year. So that's all public.
Yes, Sharon?
I would actually suggest, we don't have anything in our charter that we.
Thanks,
I was
Wendy.
looking at Middlebury earlier today, and they have a budget process that they go through that includes the town people. And they have a public hearing 40 days before their town meeting that, you know, everybody can come and make comments on the budget. This is in their charter. They're required to do it because it's in their charter. We don't have anything like that. And so what's happened in Canton, we used to be able to come and discuss things at town meeting. Nobody comes anymore because we can't discuss anything. It's just basically, this is what we come up with, and, you know, if you don't like it, well, don't vote for it.
It's only information.
And so back to that, Sharon, so I'd say like what we do is I'd circle December and usually November, a week or 2 in there too, where we do that. It's not in the town charter. I don't know if we need to overhaul that, maybe we do, and we can look into that, but I think for December, come on in and.
Yeah, we have open budget meetings.
Yeah.
They're announced, they're put on the front porch forum, they're put on everywhere.
They're all.
They're always
listed,
there.
However, they list the select board meetings are all listed.
They're warned because there's 3 select board members there. And,
We'll be watching for that this year.
well, please do,
It'll be
because
the same as last year.
it will be like the year before and the year before that. We always did that.
But that's,
And
yeah,
so,
come engage in it, because that's the time, that's now instead of town meeting where you have 8-hour meetings, you do it when we nitpick the budget and get presented.
because it gets, there's, you know, the document is a living, breathing thing, because if you take something from one area, you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. You just can't arbitrarily just say, I'm gonna take $20,000 out of salaries. Well, if you do that, what are the employees are gonna do? They're gonna go, oh, the town citizens gave me a pay cut? Well, guess what? I'll give you a bigger pay cut. Bye. And then all of a sudden, like, who's gonna drive the snowplow? Who's gonna do all that stuff? Where am I gonna hire the person to do that? So all those things have a lot of balancing factors that go on these things. We're not necessarily looking to sit there and, you know, go crazy and buy and purchase stuff. We don't really do that. I mean, we're a pretty frugal town. The expensive things that we bought are things that we got from the American Rescue Plan, like the solar panels and the website was all paid for the American Rescue Plan. That was all paid by that and didn't come out of government dollars. We cannot use those for salaries at all. You can't use American Rescue Plans for salaries.
Okay, so I will just, I'm sorry I have to say this, John, but in meetings, there is, came out of executive session and you said you gave an American Rescue Plan bonus to an employee.
You can give bonuses. You cannot, I'm just telling you, you can't use it to pay for someone's salary, but you can give a bonus,
We got
yes.
the verbiage, I mean, I'm happy to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I mean,
that's,
bonus is public if you want it, however you hand it to them.
yes, Mary,
So
right,
how did we manage those funds since we managed to overspend them 2 years in a row?
with funds.
Your funds.
$211,000.
That's also listed with what we did,
Well,
the
we gave-
broadband.
We gave $50,000 to Maple Broadband. We bought solar panels for the town garage, so it would cut our electric bill, starting next year totally, so we won't have an electric bill.
I'm asking.
I'm just
How
giving-
we managed them so that we ended up with overruns. I think 5376 in fiscal year 23 and 8900 in fiscal year 24.
I think it was 8,900. I think we went
In
over.
24, but 5376 in 23. That's 2 years of managing to over.
$5,300 we went over.
Yeah, it's right.
53,000.
Yeah.
5376.
Yeah, we probably, what we probably did with some of that money, when we do have a little bit of overages, we were paying things out of pocket, like things like, when we digitized all the records. And I'm just saying, like,
I can't just go over it in my checkbook because it's close. These are, you're fiscally responsible to the budget. You can't just overrun without identifying what you're gonna do. So I guess
Wow.
they moved it out of the general funds. Well, did you spend all the general funds as well? If you were managing that budget, but then all of a sudden you needed 5376 to backfill the ARPA funds, now the general funds.
I think you're misunderstanding actually how government accounting works.
Totally there.
The fact
Oh, all right.
this 33% is not sustainable for this town, and that's. why
Again,
we're
John,
all-
I don't know where that number comes from.
I think we should just explain it to you.
My suggestion
What I
is,
found wrong is, and I'm gonna say it, I know you're legal, but I don't know how you consider it a tax rate when you don't know.
so Kevin, that's right, yeah, yeah.
33% increase is in the tax rate, but you're gonna set the tax rate, send it out to them.
So here's what we're gonna do on that. As the motion, because this is the agenda item 8, I'd say. When we have the agenda item, next select board to go over like that 32% that got voted on back in March. Look at that, and then we'll have an explanation, and we'll lead into the amount to be raised by taxes. And we can do that with hopefully Maggie here and Teresa here, and we'll have all that information ready to go for that meeting. So we'll make a motion. So we're gonna make a motion, number 8, we'll postpone to the table it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't know town rules and procedures, so
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said in the beginning.
depending on what you find, you look for the 33%, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how town rules work. Can the budget be revised if the vote to lower the 33%? I don't think any town member is gonna complain about getting rid of a 33% increase. Or is it set in stone, there's nothing you can do with it? It is what it is.
I guess the question is, what do you want us to cut?
Well, that's what we have to look at. Like if we
No,
don't
I
know
mean,
that.
I don't think we can get to this, we know what the 33% is. Once we know what it is that an option to look at, or is it not an option? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Most of our biggest expenses is one thing.
Well, we can look at VLCT. We
It-
can
I
look
guess we
at
can
that.
look at it once we see what the 33%.
Well, and I don't know the precedent for that, and I think we can, VLCT, we lean on them a lot.
The
for,
most commodity expense that we have is paving cost us. Salary, well, I said commodities, and salaries are number one, and number two is paving. Paving costs us a lot of money. And Rick has had the mindset of keeping up with the roads and taking care of them because they really were in rough shape when he started. And he's been working really hard to keep the roads up to the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. All right, Sharon, yeah, Sharon. Sharon.
Yeah, just for comparison, I did this little rundown today, just looked up some neighboring towns. See what their percentage of increase was with their budget. Burlington 7%, Milton 2.46, Virginia 9.6, they were the highest. Addison 5.1, Middlebury 2.9, and New Haven 4.47.
And we're 33.
And we're at 33.
And
And they
I,
have all the same expenses that we have.
well, and a lot of these people like Addison's budget, when you look at their budget, they have two separate budgets.
Well, okay, I don't think we need to have this conversation. I mean, I think what we need is that we need to know what the 33% is, then we can have a discussion on that's what we do. If there is, I don't know.
Right, yeah, we can do that. Mary, go ahead. Yeah.
Legally, they have to get a tax rate set. They can't change the budget from what was voted on in March.
That's what I'm saying.
But what could happen is the town could run a surplus to apply it for the next year.
Okay.
Underrun the.
So in other words, you have to set the tax rate, what the current budget is, because that's what you're trying to set today. And then if you want to lower the budget, just go to the numbers next year, or next year.
I think that's.
We're gonna table the tax rate until next meeting. Go ahead, Kathy.
I think you need to set the tax rate today. People need to have their tax bills. If you want payments by November 1st,
If that's
it's
set,
October
then-
2nd deadline, that people have to have their tax bills. It's not giving them much
My
time.
question is,
It's gonna be,
you normally have your tax bill sent out in August. How come that hasn't happened this year?
It hasn't happened for the last few years.
We had a hearing on a grievance on a tax bill.
That was this year. That hasn't accounted for the previous years, that they haven't gone out in August.
That was
Yeah, reading sheet was
every
taxed.
time the.
I just know the answer was that, we just gotta be prepared.
Yeah.
What was your question? Yes. It was a reappraisal, and then it went to the Board of Civil Authority. And it was voted on, then there's a window of 15 days where you have to actually go to the property and do the examination of the property. And then it has to come back to the Board of Civil Authority, they have to meet again, and then they have to vote on it and go from that procedure. And then that really kind of sets the tax bill for us. But there was only one of them, thank
Okay.
goodness.
We don't have a delay, I mean, we can't change it anyway,
Yeah.
with Mag's interest, so
Okay,
make a motion to vote on the
okay.
taxes to be raised. Yeah, Melissa.
I'm saying that.
No, we can, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Yep, so we'll do that today, yeah. I was just saying if we wanna really like pour over things and have Maggie here, but I know timing wise, we'll get it done today. Cause it's not gonna change, you know what I mean, not for this year.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion to, set the tax rate and get the tax bill mailing out, quickly as you can with the dollar to be raised by taxes, $1,039,943.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is the tax rate?
Is there a percentage in here?
Let's see if she put it in there for us. I don't know. She,
I can tell you from Maggie's prepared notes tonight, the homestead rate will be 1.246.
what page are you looking on? That's the school one.
Oh, okay, just for school, sorry, never mind.
Melissa, do you have the, do you remember that rate? I just don't have it in front of me. We have
It's on the sheet.
for the appraisal. Okay,
It should be in your packet.
Looking.
Well, we can budget divided by the rent.
Well, that's the.
yeah, but do we have the official grand list because of the appraisal?
Okay. What is the number you're saying? Municipal tax rate for, I don't want to like say a number that I'm sure that it is not it, but it looks like it's,
4.24. Is that the
is that it?
0.5861? Melissa, do you actually want to look at this?
It looks like 5.5.
Yeah, it looks like it's lower.
Because the grand list is
This is what we're looking at.
so the tax rate is this number.
Yeah,
What, the 0.58?
0.5861 is what she has on this paper.
Yep. And just for information, it's, last year's was 0.6869.
But that isn't relevant because your deltas
the
aren't the
different
same.
one, yeah.
Your grand list is different, so you can't just go rate, you can't just go municipal rate. You have, it's.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So what is that rate? It's where in?
0.5861.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems-
0.5861.
Last year's was.
It's not relevant.
Well, it is, because it's almost, but I.
Last year is 6869, and the year before that was 6357, and the year before that was 6001. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that, made a motion to set that tax rate,
Thank you, Donna,
0.5
for
basis
keeping us
point.
on track.
You having fun yet, Donna? No?
No, actually.
Oh. Okay,
It's like the military.
is this your first?
Yeah.
No, okay.
I
This isn't usually,
I took minutes.
were they more mellow? Were they drinking? Is that the difference?
Terrible too.
Okay.
They did me less.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a PhD in it, so. No, they're not, you're not. It's all engaged, I know. Okay. Reserve fund policy?
Yep, the reserve fund was initially set up. To the date, the town has paid $63,282 for materials and contracted service for town personnel and equipment costs that are being determined. And that is exactly what the emergency reserve fund was set up for. That is from the storm where we had to replace culverts, multiple culverts that we've done. I think there's one on two huge ones on West Road that had to be dug out and replaced. And there's a bunch of culverts up and down Pease Road and also Jersey Street, and I believe other places too that Rick has been working on. So we are hoping that the FEMA will come through and compensate us for the cost of material, wages, and also equipment use of that amount. That is why we had the
If
emergency
FEMA has
reserve
money,
fund.
right?
Pardon me?
If FEMA has money, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of held up in Congress because of the arguing between the parties of giving money to that. So that's where we kind of stand on that.
Okay.
Yes, Melissa?
You said which fund was paying out?
The emergency reserve fund.
The minutes from last meeting, I have to get the minutes from last one.
Yes.
Minutes that we were
I think that's,
I'm not sure which one.
yeah, well, this is what the information I have on the sheet. That's all I can really tell you on that. So I can't.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to the recording as well, and the discussion was all about using the emergency reserve fund. I assume that that's one fund, not two.
One fund, yes,
It should be called the emergency fund.
right.
Not reserve fund. It's had many names in the notes. But I think there was, working with the auditors, Howard said, going forward on such and such date, we will now call it emergency fund.
Yeah,
Okay, so this policy should be changed, the title, so that that's clear, because it's.
Take out reserve and add
called
emergency.
reserve. But it also requires it to be warned in a meeting before you can take the money from there. But that, the whole part of that discussion was using those funds, but the minutes came out saying it was gonna come out after the highway fund. So the minutes, that was one of the errors in the minutes.
Okay.
But you couldn't vote on that last week because it wasn't warned.
right.
So I guess my question is, are you gonna warn it for next meeting or?
Yeah, I mean, unless you can change the title now. You can have that.
Yeah, and unless you, yeah. We will try to not call it the reserve fund, but I guess what happens is when we have like the highway equipment fund reserve and all these other funds, the reserve, that name just kind of got hooked onto it as probably and traveled with it. And that's how that probably the process went through, yes.
When you go about revising this piece of paper,
Which piece
with
of
the
paper?
reserve fund balance
Yeah.
policy, with the name on the bottom, when you sign it, you should put the year. And then underneath where people sign their names, you should print their names so you know who signed the paper. Because in this one, I have no idea who signed it. Without looking up who was on who was there in 2015 and 2015, how many years?
That's Zabisca, Beth Torello, mine.
That's why you should type the names, because you know that, But how do I know that? Without going back to the 2015 town report.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a good point. I didn't know that easy.
All right. Vital statistics in the town report. Basically, we're no longer going to put the names of people of deaths, births, and marriage license names in our town report for security reasons. So people can't falsify social security numbers and everything else. It will just say X amount of people were born, X amount of people died, and X amount of people got married. So just to understand that.
And why are you not gonna put names in?
Because they could actually falsify a social security number and create one. And let's say if you have a child and then all of a sudden I can say, I want to create a social security number for that person and blah, blah, and go and steal federal funds. Yes.
And that's a recommendation from Montpelier, right? Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we will be doing that.
Yeah.
Freedom of Information Act policy. We are working on actually a form that you fill out for the Freedom of Information. And basically, under this federal guidelines of freedom of information, the town has 2 days to produce a document and will notify the individual if that cannot be produced within 2 business days, then they would get an extension automatically for 10 business days. And the town will not, or under the Freedom of Information law, does not produce documents. So if you would say, I want to have you to make up a graph saying how much gravel we use every year. If we don't have that document already, we're not producing the document for you. So you would have to produce your own document. You will get if this is the document, this is what you get. You don't get something that manipulates for what you want us to do, like as, if we're a personal secretary or whatever you want to call it, to do that. You would have to do that. That is common procedure for most towns. That's something we should be doing. Okay.
BCA.
Board of Civil Authority has made a written decision, as I said, on the assessment appeal, and just needs to determine who will write the assessment within the 30-day period of August 14th, and that is being done.
Town hall hours.
Yep. Just for August 21st to 27th. Wednesday, we're going to be open from 8 to 12:15, from 2 to 5. Thursday, the 22nd, 1:30 to 5. 23rd, closed as usual. Monday, the 26th, 1:30 to 5. Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, regular hours. Thursday, regular hours. Friday,
Still a
closed as
meeting,
usual.
right? Still a meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still a meeting on the
It
26th.
seems like there's a notice every week and a change in hours in this office.
Right, there is.
Yeah. Why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
Because Maggie goes on vacation and Donna works part-time, 20 hours. And so there's time.
But it should be somewhat regular now. Every week there's a change.
And usually there is, it's usually her regular scheduled hours are from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and with an hour for lunch. So yes, that's her regular working hours. But on some days, she has a doctor's appointment and Donna's not working that day. So we have to close the office to accommodate her.
She has an appointment every week.
John, I don't know.
Well, it's in every week.
That's a good question.
Well, I guess,
I mean, you have to have some control over this person.
I believe we do.
Well, it isn't very good.
Well, That's your opinion, thank you.
Well, it is my opinion, and from.
Yes,
How many
ma'am.
hours is the town clerk's scheduled
40.
to work? And this is.
This is Donna.
I know Donna.
Donna works 20 hours.
No,
a
I
week.
work.
15, right.
Okay.
Ah, something new.
Our last employee worked 20, John. So,
Then that was a budgetary decision to come in.
yes. Okay. Let us move on to public comment.
Sharon, go ahead.
Yeah, this is regarding Act 133, which was the amendments to the open meeting law, which just took effect in July. You are supposed to have on the website an explanation of the procedures for submitting notice of an open meeting law violation to the public body. So you should have on the website the explanation of how we would submit a complaint if we thought you had violated open meeting law, okay, and it's not there. It should have been there on July 1st. Here is a sample of this is from Addison County Regional Planning, open meeting law complaint form. I printed it right off the website. So that, we need to correct that.
Okay, thank you.
You want this?
Sure.
Yeah, you can go.
I just really want to say to people, you know, it's like, I appreciate everybody's opinions and ideas on this, but there's a lot of work that goes on here and a lot of things, moving parts in there. People come in and ask questions and occupies our time, and things that happen here, phone calls come in. And it got reduced quite a bit since we really don't have a lot of attorneys coming in to use our vault to look at for properties information. And that was a great thing that we bought, that, you know, documenting all, photocopying or all those things on the website for their convenience, and especially mainly ours. But yes, there's a lot of things that need to get done and happen. And I think the select board has really tried hard to keep up with items. I know that we worked on things to work really hard. We developed a huge personnel policy. We've done a lot of things that improve this town. And so, yeah, is there some things we're missing? Yes, you're right, we are. But I would say compared to most towns around us, we're doing a pretty good job for the amount of people that we have and the amount of hours that Maggie can spend on efforts to get these things done. And again, there's only so many hours in a day to work. And if we need to fill more of these things that you want us to do, and what you're asking more stuff for us to do, there's only so much time to do this stuff. And the question is, either some people help us do these things, or we have to do to a point of maybe hiring more people, and then that becomes another problem. So yes, John.
Here's a point that I would like to make for everybody's information. I've made it when I was select board chair. That you can't expect a lay person to come in and know all of the statutes that are handed down from Mount Vernon. Be able to know, I was fortunate to have Melissa here that provided a lot of continuity to the select board. And she kept us in tune with what was going on and taught us what we needed to know. And we did go to courses to learn about all this. But for some one person, and it's not, it's an unpaid, basically, privilege to be a select board member. But you're there to be servants of the community, and you need to remember that, but also, it's too big of a job to think that any one select board member can comply to all the statutes that are handed down from Montpelier. So what I was suggesting 10 years, 15 years ago, and I am suggesting again, is that we need a part-time professional town manager. Okay, because this would be providing the continuity and the professionalism of running a small community so that he could present or she could present to the select board what they need to know to make common sense decisions about things they might not be particularly involved with, okay? Because it's impossible to know all these things. So this is something that in the future needs to be done the same way as perhaps sharing some of the road work, so we don't have one small town having to have all this expensive equipment that isn't used all year round, okay? It could be on a shared basis. When it snows, yes, you need a truck. And if you share a truck, maybe the job will get done half as quickly. But with global warming, I don't see these emergencies occurring very often. And so, again, my suggestion is to look into the possibility of sharing a town manager with maybe Waltham, with maybe Weybridge, or some other small township that really needs the same professionalism to be able to manage.
And that type of person could be even, I don't know, what is Maggie's title? Clerk?
She's treasurer clerk.
Treasurer?
Yeah, so she took.
No, I look at her as more, she's doing a lot. But a town manager, what John is saying, is I think it's true, we provide you with not only government stuff, you know, when it comes to the budget, they hand you the budget. I agree, you guys don't have time to do it all. Who would want to know what it did? Your job is to make educated, common sense decisions. That person would hand you that stuff and say, here's what the 33% increase is, this is what I think, you know, here's what the per mileage per road is for these 6 towns, look at yours. They'd be giving you that analytical data, so you could sit there and make decisions, informed decisions.
And I would agree with you. I think that's probably an ideal thing to
It may be
do.
hard to find, I don't know.
And it's extremely hard to find.
Well, that's why you have to talk to other towns and start to share information, because I'm sure they're faced with the same problems. And to think that some select board person in all these other towns has that kind of time to devote to everything that comes down from Montpelier. And it's more and more each and every year, at least that was my experience in my 11 years.
I can say I so appreciate that, John, that you said that, because I feel that a lot, especially when we don't have answers to everything, it is too much to the best of our ability. Like I wish we had more balance as far as like someone like Melissa who just knew numbers flat cold and could just speak to everything, boom, boom, boom. We have a math teacher on the board, and I think that's helpful. But again, she teaches at Mount Aid. Didn't have time to go over, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love a town manager. Yeah.
And then somebody to judge whether or not you're in the right ballpark as far as the employees you have.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're paying them too much, too little, whatever. I always felt my employees earned every dollar they got, and tried to give them as much as I could. But there are certain limits, okay?
Yeah.
And
We would agree with that.
Constrained by what the people in town can afford to pay. And that goes to the road budget too. And these are things that somebody that has more training in these particular fields might be able to help a select board person make common sense.
You know, maybe an extra person for checks and balances.
I'd love it.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
would
one
just,
thing, I'll just say one thing too on that front is I know I've sat down the past number of years with Howard, with Teresa, originally with John for a couple of years, and the dedication to the town. I mean, we're all here trying to get you this town, because we still pay taxes too, the smallest number possible. We're not here to stuff budgets, and I mean, again, we may have missed, I can't speak to like we missed, the gas went up last month. I couldn't speak to that unless I really dove into it. So I think I want to appreciate you all being engaged, and we're here to, our goal is to get you the smallest numbers possible with functioning materials and offices and roadwork. And if we need to cut, look at contracting, look at town managers, and certainly help for that.
And there's so many things to do, you know, it's just, you know, Zach he does work full time. I'm fortunate that I'm retired, that I can do things, but, you know, I'm on like 4 committees. I'm on the TAC committee, I'm on the ambulance committee that's working on that. I'm working on the bypass with Mary Rudd on that. So there's a lot of things up in the air. Plus I'm probably here maybe 5-6 hours a week talking to Maggie about certain items that we're like discussing about items. I'm moving money or whatever we're doing. It's like, there's a ton of hours that we spend here. And it's just like, this is a labor of love. And if you don't want to help the town, the $750 that you get is like, thanks.
I'll also say, Mary, hold on, one more thing. I just want to get this out. It's just, I think what happens a lot of times is things can get contentious. Like, I never want you to feel I am an elected official and I am responsible for listening to what everyone says. And I hope it never comes off that I'm angry or upset with anyone, because I'm not. Hopefully we're all on that same goal for the town. And so apologies there if anything does come off that way. And I want to listen and just listen to everyone out here. So Mary, sorry, yeah.
So I appreciate your position on that, and the whole exchange with the open, or what was it, open meeting law violation. Sharon should have just been thanked. Like, yep, we have a deficiency, thank you, we'll take care of it.
Yeah,
No more discussion.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know, I mean, she was trying to point out a problem that we have, and
For sure.
it would just be nice if it was accepted instead of.
Yes, this gives me, the complaint I've heard in town, they won't listen to us, okay? So
Yeah.
this is the complaint I've heard, and that's why I had to come myself, as much as I don't want to be here, okay? I certainly do not want to be here. But there's a time and place where you have to stand up when something's that far wrong to find out what's really going on. And so that's why I'm here. And I don't know how I'm going to explain that 33% increase. It's not sustainable for this town. And I don't know why the bells didn't go off to somebody to realize that this town has always been 5% or under. When I was chair, it was 1 or 2%, and we were fighting not to get it above 2% sometimes. So we learned as much as we could to keep within our budget with the money we had, so we didn't cause a really large tax increase to our taxpayers. And that's why I worked so hard to get this town hall renovated. For 9 years, it was first with Obama, when he was coming in, and we had a shovel ready for us to receive the funds in his plan. Well, we worked our tails off. I had contractors come in and they had estimates for everything, and it never came to fruition. We then looked for grants, and the next possibility that came along was the solar field in Hampton. And they promised, Green Mountain Power promised us an annual income of around $60,000. Well, when it sugared off, it was less, because I bowed out during this whole process, because that up there was supposed to be a community kitchen, okay, where we would be able to have potluck dinners and come here as a community to socialize instead of arguing over money, which we're doing here now, and which we usually do at our annual town meetings, okay, but I was overruled. And we never did get the kitchen because one of the members wanted her husband to play music up there and some other fantastic ideas. Okay, so we didn't have that opportunity to bring this town together on an annual basis. And I still resent that very much because I worked very hard to get this building renovated at no expense to our taxpayers.
So it's very thankless a lot of times. But again, like, hopefully, you know what I mean? Like, there's things, if we can take it on a positive, like, Kathy, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
On another topic, I've sat here, and I think it's been the last 2 select board meetings. The select board has repeatedly said that the solar people have not presented anything to the select board. Yet this past week, I read in the paper where the select board is in negotiations with them. So,
I'd love to speak to that when you get to it. Because I don't know where that would come from.
well, the paper was interviewing somebody from the select board.
They were interviewing me. We're not in negotiations. We're just waiting for them to have their meeting come, was it October?
Sometimes fall.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only information I have is what, from those couple of meetings. That's all I have. And they haven't come to me with a number. They came out with a number, initial number of $325,000. And it's just like,
What's this 325?
that's the amount of money that the town of Canton would get.
Where did it come from?
Where did that come from?
It was on the informational sheet of the meeting that.
Oh, but that's over the life of the cameras, right?
Isn't that based on the other?
No, I
town,
believe
like-
it's yearly.
Yeah.
But it was based on Shaftesbury,
Yeah,
which is a very different situation than we have here. So they.
it may not match up.
Presented us
A rough number.
It can't be accurate, I don't see how they can give you any number until they know what they're gonna sell the power for and who to.
And again, Sharon, you might be right, but that's not my company and I'm not running that. But if they have an agreement and we have a contract on something, that's something they have to look up with the contract. But I'm just saying, that's the number that they.
So you're 100% saying that you are not in negotiations of any kind with the solar company?
No. Not one person can negotiate. All right. Yeah,
But you as a board also are not negotiating.
not at this time.
No.
They haven't come to us.
When does the negotiation?
Well, I guess, you know, what really happens is they just, who knows, from our attorney, Leslie talked to us about, basically Leslie's saying like, they have conversations back and forth with their attorney and our attorney, and it's real, I don't know, they could just walk away from this thing and say it's too big of a pain in the butt and just leave, or,
We can only be solar.
That's our hope. That's what the town
Or-
hopes.
Well,
In case you're not aware of it.
well, John, that's why we're going to have a vote, and we'll see how the town decides what they want. Not necessarily what Howard wants or what John wants.
I'm glad that's not.
So we're going to do what the democracy says, and we're going to give out a fact sheet, and this is what happens. So this is where it covers, and this is what it costs, this is what the pros and cons of the solar field. Yes, Sharon?
I've had some questions about that fact sheet, when and how will that be passed out?
It will, you know, I really don't want to mail it out because mailing it out costs us lots of money to send out mailers to us.
That fact sheet or the new one?
The new one.
Oh, yeah, we only have. So.
Yeah, so the question is, it'll probably be on the website, it could be in the town office, but it hasn't been developed yet, and so we're working on it. Yes,
That figure of $350,000 a year,
yes.
that was based on what Shaftesbury was getting. So that isn't really a fact.
No, it's what they gave us as a suggested possibility,
I
like a
think-
similar
So
sized
that can be
town.
put on that sheet saying that's a fact.
Well, I guess that's
It's a
what
fact for
they,
them, not for
so
us. Yeah.
it's, I guess that's what they're calling the starting point.
That sheet was purely notional from the solar.
Yeah,
company.
it was.
It has not even been submitted to our lawyer, it's nothing.
It's just a fact sheet they had at the meeting.
It was just to placate people
Yeah,
who are asking.
That's
about
just
it.
a carrot on a stick.
Well, it's not much of a carrot.
Yeah.
For the lawyer.
Any other public comment?
Like I will just say, the select board's doing the best we can for the abilities we have. And, you know, we want the best thing to happen to our town.
It sounds like I understand that we're waiting for them to make a move, and they're moving to submit an application.
Probably.
Probably during the holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
And, you know, again, Leslie's on this and our attorney is very skilled at this. And so, you know, she was recommended by Ben Marks, who's highly skilled at this. So, we're very confident in Leslie, and,
At the meeting, she shook hands with them. At the meeting she was present at, they came up and they all shook hands.
Mary, could you, like, they won't believe me, go ahead and explain that.
It's very common for situations like this where they come into a small town, who do not have the resources to hire all the appropriate expertise that we need to properly evaluate a proposal that we might get from them at some point. So we negotiated an escrow account that they funded for her and any experts that she's gonna hire. Like, we're looking for somebody to do a reshed analysis, because I don't believe the VHB one was done with enough rigor. If we need A&R experts, they'll come out of that fund.
Yes, and they said that they would continue to fund that fund as long as the town looked favorably upon the
Yeah,
solar
so
field. So that, to me, is a bribe.
That doesn't even need the publication, so why are we here? I just don't get it.
Well,
The other thing with these solar companies, and I think some of them have heard really about some of these solar companies, the ones, they all are not doing well at all. They have all overextended themselves. One of them, who some power or somebody, they literally put a halt in any more solar fields, any land in the United States, all they way overspent. A lot of them are interest rates going bankrupt. These companies,
What just look
they need to look at very carefully.
And I appreciate that, but again, Town of Ham is not running their solar company. We're just saying we have $35,000, isn't that about?
So one question I
Hold on,
had.
let me just finish here. We have about $35,000 in that account, and what we do is, when we get a bill from Leslie, Leslie gives the bill to the solar field, and they pay her that amount.
No.
Comes through
There's
us.
There's an independent escrow agent.
Oh, right.
There's an
okay.
escrow agreement that's been legally signed by them and the town. You guys have to sign it.
Yeah, right.
And then there's a third party that manages the money.
There's an attorney who.
So it's like, it is not, it isn't bribe money, it's just sitting there. But the real interesting thing about this, and I will say to you, you have $35,000, but when that account runs out, because if you go through more legal procedures and stuff, then it's going to be questioned. If I was a solar company, I wouldn't be giving you another $35,000 to argue with myself. I would say, you better come up with your own funds and cover those expenses. And the question is, that's when it gets costly for the town to think about. And that's what the town really has to think about when you come up with those kind of expenses. Because $35,000 for legal actions and hiring people to do certain things, you run through the money rather quickly. And like I said, where do we get the money for that? Where do we get those things to cover those things? So.
I know you're getting 35,000 times 25. That's what they agreed to do.
And Sharon, I'm sorry, I might have the number wrong, but it was on or about. I will say that.
Another question I had, if this does go through, how is the land with these solar fields taxed? Is it taxed to the landowner? Is it taxed to the solar company? Is there a different tax rate?
I own
Mayor?
a solar field, and I own one, okay? And it's all dictated by the state. And it's the reason they attract these out-of-state companies, because the amount of tax on the inventory is so low that these companies can come into this state, sell the electricity out of state, and make a huge profit. And we're stuck with the black swan. Okay, I own a little one. The state took my big one away from me, but I still own a little 5-acre one. And it's lucrative. It's much better than farming. Okay, so the fact that the Sullivans here turned them down, that's commendable. And the Vissers did too. Okay, because that's a lot of money.
So what you're saying is the state sets the taxes that.
Yes.
But they're very low.
I think
It
Mary,
must be,
go
because
ahead, Mary.
if you take an example for, I think it's a 30-acre field in Coxsackie, New York. That town is receiving for a 30-acre field, $1 million.
I know, that's why I said it's 325, that's what it is, like last time.
So that the state has taken control of setting the tax rate for any land that is used for solar installation. So that is dictated by the state. The payments that the individual landowners gets is a contract negotiated between the solar company and the individual landowner.
Right.
But
But
what
I'm
we will
assuming the
get out
tax rate is set by the state, whatever it is.
for land, there's, yeah, so there's the land tax, and some of that probably ends up at the state. Then there's a tax per kilowatt hour of generated power. So that's where we got the shaft from Green Mountain Power, because they promised this amount of generation, and they pay X cents per kilowatt hour. But they throttle that all the time because they've got too much power out here for the transmission line. So now we're not getting what they promised, because they can't.
You want to fix it now, so
Yeah, but then that's controlled by the state.
Yeah.
So if Green Mountain Power throttles on days that they can't take power, then we don't get any revenue. But I'm sure it was sold to the town as
Yes.
max generation.
Well, it actually was like $16,000 or $18,000 what they're looking, which was 10 years ago. Probably we put that thing, maybe 7 years ago, but there was no COLA attached to it. So there's no percentage to that. And I would say this time, we maybe made a mistake on that. You know, we were pretty neophytes on this whole process. And I would say we would definitely put a,
We don't get enough sun in Vermont.
That's why so ludicrous.
They make money.
Okay, the tallest state in the nation has all these solar companies coming in because they can make big bucks.
Because our state
It's yours and my money.
Huh?
It's yours and my money. It wasn't.
The other thing is, it's Addison County is the king in Vermont, so you
yeah,
go Chittenden County,
ambulance
Franklin County, any of these other counties, you don't see these big solar farms. You see a little array here and a little array there and rooftops, but you don't see these big fields. Addison County is the king
Yeah.
of Vermont for solar fields.
Well, actually, Ferrisburg is probably the real king.
Ferrisburg's in Addison County.
I'm saying they're the real king. They have solar fields everywhere.
When you hit Chittenden County, you won't find it.
Yeah.
The opening door is all of us.
Okay,
So let's continue.
thank you for public comment. Moving on, if you would.
Communications, ambulance.
Yep, attended the ambulance meeting again. We're to the point of basically we're really pushing them hard. They're probably 20 to 30 hours short every month where there's no ambulance available. So again, the 5 towns are working very hard with bars to change the process. What the real issue would be is that we're looking to probably have more control over what happens with bars. It's a C3, or what did I call it? It's a nonprofit organization, and they have their own officers from their own group that make their own decisions. And the 5 towns really want to change this. We practically we've held off funds to bars for this year until they change their attitude and become more directional towards the towns. This is a rather difficult thing to do. This is something I'm very involved with because of my experience on being a paramedic for 30 years and being on a fire department that ran 10,000 runs a year. So I'm working really hard and diligent on that, but it's also, we get pressures from other towns just basically saying, I'm tired of doing this, let's just end it. And it's like, it's too important. We pay approximately $45,000 to $50,000 a year for fire, for Virgins to come to do fire as a contract for us. And then that point is that they come out to Canton maybe 12, 15 times a year for some kind of incident. And with the bars, we have probably 8 to 10 calls a month in PAM. So, and we only spend $10,000. So we're looking to really force bars to get professional people, full-time people, 24/7, 365 days a year. We think that's essential. You know, if a person has a house fire or some kind of other problem, it's probably okay if Jen shows up, but if your child or husband or wife or kid is not breathing, you can't wait 55 minutes for an ambulance because it's going to be bad. It will be a terrible outcome and you'll be really unhappy. And I've seen that happen 3 times personally myself. And it's just, it's, you know, it's not a good service. You might as well call up for a cab because you get to the hospital faster. Yes.
Yeah, I was telling EMT, but my dad is a firefighter, he's not here right anymore, but they were taught how to do CPR. Most firefighters should be taught CPR, because I'm not sure if Jen's is, but he's from Salisbury. They had to have every year, first day, CPR and all that. Are they doing that with them there or not?
I think they are. They're what they call EMTAs, and then there's EMTs. EMTAs can give some forms of drugs. They can start an IV. They can do some minor stuff. The ideal thing would be actually to become paramedics. But again, this is going to cost the town money. And my personal opinion, not the select boards, but my personal opinion, if it costs the town $50,000 a year, I mean, we're really talking about, and you know, you're talking about a loved one.
It's gonna cost about 50,000 because you have to get a.
Well, this is just the town of Canton's money. Other towns, we're doing what they call per capita, the amount of people that live in their community, and they would be taxed on that amount. Virginia's would be higher, of course, and Ferrisburg would be much higher, and Waltham would be less. But those are the things that we think are probably more important than fire protection. Fire protection is important. I don't argue with that. But when you call for an ambulance, you can't wait 55 minutes. Nobody can. Yes.
I just want to say thank you for doing that, because I think it's really valuable as well, and I know you spend a lot of time, and I.
Yes, a lot of time with that. So it's very challenging, and it's very challenging because it's their social, it's an idea at the bars that you're taking something away from us, and we've always done it this way, and you're doing big city stuff. And it's like, no, you're talking about people's lives. Nobody wants to sit there and say, well, I saved $20 on my tax bill, but my husband's dead. Great, you know, you can put the $20 in, you know, his coffin.
Have you figured, sorry,
Yes.
same conversation, have you figured out what's gonna cost to hire the person and have the ambulance and all that? Do you have that?
Yeah, it's about 250,000, maybe more a year, somewhere in that vicinity. But again, dealing with bars, they have money that they say have $1 million over here, then they tell us they have $450,000 here, and then they go, oh, we don't have any money there, and it's just like, it's kind of like the shuffle of, you know, where's the pea under what cup, you know, and we're to the point of the 5 towns give bars approximately on or about $250,000 a year, and the 5 towns are saying, if you want our money, you will do what we tell you to do, because we want 5 towns represented from each town to represent bars and probably meet quarterly with them to look at their budget, see what they're spending money on, making sure they're buying things that are right. You know, we don't want to actually run their ambulance department. We just want to control their ambulance department, because, you know, do you really need to spend, you know, an ambulance now is for somewhere like $380,000, and they last maybe 7 or 8 years, and you sell it out because it's, you know, it gets worked out pretty hard. But it's, the question is, you know, we have to really figure out things. But what we really, the goal of this whole issue of bars is we want to able to get the response time cut way low, so they're there within at least 7 to 10 minutes, hopefully. But this is a huge area they're going to. And when they go to, UVM, There's an hour there and it's an hour back, and there's no ambulance here at all. There's not a, there's not a crew to fill that spot, and you're getting an ambulance either from Bristol or you're getting an ambulance there from Charlotte, and it's like, it's a big deal, and that.
I'm too old to be working anyways, but I used to do that with EMTs, but I think that, are you talking about for Jen, that everybody did for Jen, is that what you're thinking?
Yes, all five towns. It would be for Jens, Addison, Waltham, us, and Ferrisburg.
I think that's I mean,
We are working all together. We have some differences, and probably most people would hear who've been in towns long enough, and I'm sure John could testify. Not all towns seem to agree on everything, but we all agree on that. And that's something we need to fix. And it's probably, something that I go to probably a lot of meetings on this. And so, yes.
You could enlighten me about this, because I really expected that if somebody called an ambulance, it would be within 15 minutes. And so there is a lot of time, you're telling me, that they just are not available.
Right. Saturdays, don't hold your breath on Saturdays and Sundays. It's not a good day.
So, but I think the rest of the community should be enlightened a little bit about this also, just to make plans in case they have an emergency, that call the ambulance 911, but in the meantime, call your neighbors and get that person in the car and get them to the hospital.
Well, John, sometimes that works, and sometimes that works really bad. Depends what happens. If a person is, I would just hear me out. From my experience of doing this for 30 years and having a lot of patients, I would go on runs to probably 12, 15 times a day. If somebody has a back injury, now you're picking them up and now you've made them a quad, so there's a lot of things that go on there that you really have to think about. Yes, my friend had an incident down on Lake Street. They live on the border of Addison and Patton. 55 minutes later, they showed up. And I was not very impressed with their skill and abilities. But again, it's just like we're working baby steps. Baby steps are getting here and getting them 24/7. And then we will improve their service and make things happen. I can't flip a switch and do that because I can't hire a private ambulance company, because nobody wants to come here and be a private ambulance money, because there's not enough money into it. There would be if you want to spend for it.
I think somehow people in the communities should be aware of the fact that when they do call 911, they might not have an app. I had a misconception. If you call 911, somebody be here in 20 minutes. Okay, so what I'm saying is you should make people aware of the fact that they may not get an ambulance for 55 minutes. So if there's some alternative way that this guy's having trouble breathing, he's short of breath, if he's still alive, put him in the car, take me up.
Liability is really tough. It's really tough. And like Howard was saying, it's very
What John's
delicate.
saying is, people should be informed.
Yes.
Not that we
Yeah,
want
yeah.
private ambulance company,
I-
not that we expect.
We're not
to solve
suggesting
Instantly, it's just, the townspeople should know.
And I would say what our plan was, in agreement of these 5 towns, was basically go with the idea, we will try to coax, we don't want to get rid of bars. We don't want to throw them all out and hire new people.
That's not what we're saying.
Well, just let me explain what our principle is. I'm sorry I'm not doing the way you want.
Just
Okay, go
answer
ahead.
the question that wasn't asked. I think several people have expressed appreciation for what you're doing, believe in what you're doing. John's point was just, we just need to, people should know that, yeah, there might not be any things come up, and that's it, really.
I was getting to that point. What happens is, we don't want to actually throw everybody up in arms, get it on front porch forum, everybody screaming at them and saying, running around, henny penny, the sky's falling, because that's not going to be advantageous for anything getting done. And so we're just very concerned about doing that. So that was our thought process. And that's what the 5 towns which are all select board members and the mayor of Virgins, sit there and go, that's what we thought we wanted to do. Yes.
That's
Isn't
good,
the
Howard, but
dispatcher-
I still think everybody should be
Then
aware
to
of
call
the
those
fact that
two-
currently,
Inform the caller that
They'll be late, or they can't.
that it's gonna take this long for the ambulance, or, you know, your local ambulance isn't available right now. This one's coming out of Charlotte, coming out of Burlington. Wouldn't the dispatcher inform the people calling
They don't.
of that
No.
situation?
See, we don't, this is not run by the hospital, this is run by the Vermont Department of Health, which is another thing that's a very sticky situation, because you have to go now arguments with Department of Health, and luckily, there's a woman on the select board in Waltham who works for the Department of Health, and she's becoming very helpful for us to get into the area. But again, I've had conversations with the attending ER doctors who's in charge of District 3, that's what we are in, that encompasses all of Chittenden County and our little section of Addison County. And I've talked to their EMS coordinator, telling them all the concerns that the 5 towns have on that. So we're working really hard with them to get things going. But again, it's like moving a big barge. It's really hard to do. They're very entrenched in their ways, and there's some people there that don't want to change their methodology, and, you know, because you're taking something away from them. So it is hard.
my point, I think is all this, that here I am, you know, I know the situation, I worked in the hospital, but I've had to take my kids there in the car because I was aware that I could get them there faster. And I think everybody should be aware that if you have an emergency, that patient's mobile is still alive, you might be better off taking them there in their car. And that's my only point.
No, I know what you're saying, and
Yeah, I would,
if I can speak for, hold on, I think, like, I just think, I know what you're saying, I think, and I know Mary's saying too, like, just let us know it's aware that there are gonna be possible delays on days, but you don't know, yeah, absolutely. And however, I know, but as a town, we can't really
tell you.
ever liability, ever cross that line, to say, like, maybe you wanna call a friend, because we can't do it. We can't make an announcement saying, like, maybe the ambulance will be late, call someone else. Like, you just can't do it. I understand. It's gonna have to be word of mouth, but you guys, speaking to friends and neighbors.
Maybe somebody else put it on front page.
Absolutely, do it, but we can't. We can't. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
John, I'm just informing you what goes on in our meetings.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
happy to learn that, because I did.
You can post them, yeah.
I was under the misconception that you call 911, somebody's gonna be there in 15 minutes. And so that isn't the case.
I didn't say that. It could be the case.
They could be there if they're available.
Yeah.
Or if
There's gaps.
there's gaps.
Yeah.
And really,
Okay.
post it on front porch forum. I think you're just gonna panic people and stuff.
Yeah. But that's free speech. You can
I
do
would
anything
just
you want
tell you,
there, but yeah.
last year
yeah.
alone, they were out of service 2.5 months out of the year.
And I mean, as often as I drive around in Virgins, I mean, it's nothing to see the Bristol ambulance or the Charlotte ambulance
Exactly.
at calls and stuff, and that's not unusual. I mean, it tells me that somebody is there. You know, as far as timelines, well, sometimes they're not at the station, at the rescue squad. They have to come from Addison or Ferrisburg to Virgins, and then that takes time. And with the traffic in the afternoon in Virgins, they're not gonna get through Virgins very fast.
Yeah, it's all scary, so we're working on hopefully a better solution.
Like I said, I'm working very hard with these other 5 towns to figure this out. We're talking to an attorney to get a contract that would actually make them, to be more responsible to us, because that's what we need them to do. And we need oversight from these 5 towns to sit there and say, this is what you'll do. This is how you will spend your money. So now we're babysitting bars. That's what basically it's going to come down to.
I just want to post it on front porch forum.
Yeah.
And
Delicate.
there are a group of people that put in a lot of hours and dedication.
That would be very upset.
It's amazing.
They need more people to join.
What? Yeah, I would agree with you, and I would, that is why we haven't really had this big conversation. But, you know, this is something that
thank God they're there, but I mean, I wasn't aware.
Okay.
Because we delayed that.
I wasn't either. I know it's, when they came and told us to report of how many days they missed, yeah.
Okay, revenue and expenditures to the date.
All right, it's gonna be this, you have this one.
Oh, I got this. She's looking at me like it's in the folder, dude.
Donna, you did a great job. Did you put this together, or did Maggie?
No, she did.
Okay,
But I'm
take some
gonna
credit.
help her.
Okay.
I really, you know, the thing with Maggie is Suzanne went through a role.
Yeah.
And she really hasn't had help until us.
Right.
Yeah.
Had to take a breath.
God bless you. Thanks, John.
John, thank you. We're ready.
All right, here we go. Okay, I have this legal counsel advice. This is the legal fees that,
Yeah, that's escrow.
escrows, if anybody wants to know, we're,
Are you on 17 or 18?
We're on,
Revenue and expenditure.
we're on 17. 17,
17.
so don't do that yet.
Yeah, not yet. Where's she's got? 18.
Mr. 17, is this,
What?
this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
You should have one.
I do. Go ahead. I got a lot of stuff here.
It's, I know. You have tabs though, it's good.
It's a circus here.
Yeah. We asked Maggie if there's anything odd, but we got notes on that. This is the one, Melissa, this is the one,
Item
You had a
17
question
packet,
on
printed
with
on back to highway.
Becky,
benefits.
so she'd worked with Becky, and she has, you think some vague numbers of, okay, so these, that's nothing, that's just kind of like a very rough. You see the notes for it, because I think you saw the notes, like, in 23, according to Becky and Maggie, they were, over budget by 22,000. And at the end of 24, they were under by 27,000.
No, they're not right. So in accounting, you have cash accounting, printing, roaming, right? You have cash accounting, you have when you have a matching principle. The matching principle, so the town is in pool basis. It's not just cash, it's not like the money comes in, this is what we spent, and so then we can say it's not our expenditures. So if you had a bill that was taken, for instance, I saw maybe it was like $15,000 I just need for an example.
Yes, please.
Was the reappraisal $15,000 was paid out.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that the reappraisal was done and pretty much complete by June 30th, right?
Okay.
So that 15,000 belongs in the period it was incurred, which is last fiscal year. So to say that that's an expense of the current year is a misstatement. It belongs in the last year's, and it's an account payable that needs to be approved, that needs to be accounted for, so that whatever you think you had left in 2024, you haven't accounted for that 15,000 yet. That's one issue, and that's what the auditors were trying to explain for the last 3 years. Your liabilities have not been reconciled.
With the right
They
fiscal year,
right.
yeah.
And so they're not being reconciled, and so things are being thrown around, and that's a great way to make your budget look like, in theory, to make, I'm sure I'm right.
Yeah.
And in July, we pay out the bills that we would, I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
So that hasn't happened yet. Accounts payable has not been reconciled. I know that as a fact, that's what I asked.
Okay.
So you can't, and then just for instance, the revenue section, this is, you'll see the very top number, 1,039,943. That's the number we've been talking about. That's the budget. So then you're telling me, why is there's $25,000 added to the budget? So this is, I don't know if you've gotten emails, right? Maybe back and forth, maybe about the budget, right?
No, good, that's why I love having numbers with you, so.
So the budget column is the very first thing that you do, right? You open up the year, you're gonna put in your budget, and that's gonna be that first column. So town plan has not said that they have a surplus. They say these are expenses, this is what we're gonna raise. So you come to the line even at the end where it says, total general fund expenses. This report's telling me that you have a surplus of 60,000, and I've gone through here, and these are not part of the budget. They have been put in, I don't know why, and I've asked Mike that.
Yeah.
Why are you adding things to the budget that you have not put in? So my point is, you're gonna look at the budget you saw for 2024, it also has wrong numbers in it that haven't been corrected. Then you have an actual, and it looks like you still got money left, but you have an inflated budget here. And so it looks like you've got, it's called prudence, right? It's
It sounds like they don't really comprehend tax versus pool.
right, or accounting in general.
For your rules.
Yeah.
So you've got stuff mixed up in all the wrong periods and
Yeah.
wrong budget years and,
So, I mean, you can look at this and think that you have, your last report said there was 79,000 extra revenue. But these numbers have not been proven, your items have not been reconciled. And so I just say that I don't have a lot of trust in the numbers. Then are they close enough?
Yeah, no, I understand. I will say, yeah, no, I think that makes, it enlightens a lot of that. And I think one thing when you say creative accounting, I get it. I'd say that like Pricewaterhouse, like the big players, that makes sense, that's what happened. But I would say like that's more of like lack of budget knowledge on our part. And I think for me, I don't know how much we can rely on an auditor to like, does this make sense? I mean, they have a suggestion here and there, but like, do you understand what like telling associates, like, can they go in and be like, what aren't they supposed to? Again, above our like.
So what's been happening in the past, how I understand that, is been told by many people, and that they come in and they clean it all up.
Yeah.
They basically, and I know you had a budget for $8,900 last year, but it ended up being $12,000 for the auditor, because they have to come in and correct all this stuff, and that's what's happening. They correct all these numbers so that you have a plan for it to put in your audit that makes sense.
And then we go and kind of screw it up again. Is that what's happening? Like, yeah. So what, are we off from their suggestion last year when they kind of cleared these numbers and put things correctly in? We're off, it's still off from what they gave us?
The New Year's off.
Yeah, this turn, okay. Yeah.
2024.
And so do you think we're relying on just telling the associates to kind of like do this again at the end of the year? And that's like.
I think that's what's happening.
Right.
That was the
Can
whole
stop,
goal,
yeah.
so the election come in here to actually leave these numbers up before it got to the auditors.
Yeah.
And less work to do. Is what, I don't know, is one of the reasons they don't want to come out.
That's the, yeah, they may not say that, but right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Kathy.
Is some of the problem that she doesn't know how to put it into memory?
Oh, this number's in there, then why isn't that number? So she knows that.
Yeah, she could.
Yeah, but with memory, there's also different things different ways that you can put it into there. So like, what you said, like the bill for the reappraisal was in the 24 budget, but the bill didn't come to the 25, and that's why it's getting into the 25. But memory has a way of adjusting that.
It's in the accounts payable module, it's entered in there, and you put in the date that's.
But you gotta understand.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is I'm just not
Yeah.
understanding how to put it into memory.
So I would say she could get better at that. So she's putting in the wrong bucket is what is continually
Actually,
happening.
she showed me how to do that, so.
Okay.
When you enter the accounts payable, so it's either last fiscal year or for next year, or for this year. So we are putting it for that year. I don't know why that's missed.
Well,
I just want an understanding that it needs to go. And a year,
Mhm.
different year.
Okay, again, I mean, I always thought kind of too, like that's maybe, and that's possibly a reason Telling wants to kind of like slowly get rid of us if that's gonna continually
It's
happen.
not a job, it's a fix it.
It's to just fix it, yeah. And I always kind of thought that was like helpful oversight, like that's part of the, but it shouldn't be that glaring.
Has to be independent.
Yeah.
Timing is supposed to be independent, not supposed to be doing any of your accounting, that's part of the whole.
Right, yep,
How many days are they spending on that?
yeah, I don't
I don't know.
They give us the bill and they
Maybe
come
7
present
days,
to us.
6 days, 6, 7 days, I have no idea.
We don't know that.
Yeah, they squeeze us in, they've told us, because
Yeah.
it's smaller, they're able to be nimble and wait, because it's smaller, but it's still, they spend some time.
But it's more than a day. I will tell you that.
Yeah, they usually wait on us.
So
But that's a discussion, so.
that's something
Right,
I don't attend the audits at all while they're here, because it's,
We do the presentation when they come to us, because it's like, they just sift through the numbers.
They didn't.
no, they did not.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what they really, maybe those.
And we explained that information, what she was given, and that's all we can do. You know, again,
You let her explain it to you,
yes,
right, so that's not.
Yeah, why didn't they present? They didn't say, like,
they didn't have enough time. They couldn't.
they usually, they present it in years past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name, just was too busy.
So I would say, I mean, recommendation wise is like, we're continuing with just having Becky look at this and help like move things where they appropriately should be. Like, where are we at right now? Like, from your knowledge, like, this is the latest,
I'm
like,
trying to step out from all this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be done. That's
Okay.
constantly coming with, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this needs adjusted, why is this there? I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
did that back in 2010.
yeah. No, so I don't mean to, I didn't mean to do that. I basically meant if you had talked to, yeah. Yeah, no, I was asking if you were like in talks with Maggie still or Becky and also, I didn't know. That's totally fine. And that's a question for us with like, with Maggie.
That was how we decided that we were going to try to get some help to see if she could come and fix it.
Yeah.
Just to get us to a place where we knew what we had, and then you guys can decide how you wanna have it.
We had a discussion where she would come in maybe 5, 10 hours a month after the adjustments have been made. And Maggie has also stated that, you know, she was never an accountant to actually do these funds where they kind of like, you have some of these major monies moved on. And she goes, that those skills are beyond me, and I've never been trained on that. So, I mean, she's honest on that, but again,
But
that's.
again, I think to Kevin's point too, I think, I mean, what town manager who was familiar with some sort of on the number side of things would be extremely helpful, like, yeah. So to fill those, I mean, if we could find, and that's kind of what our idea was, initially have someone who could fill in the lack of knowledge on that.
That would be great, but again, it's very difficult, and it's just like, now you have another expense, because it's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really easy to say, get 3 towns to do it, but, you know, you're never gonna get Waltham to do that.
So that's on us. We're gonna discuss with,
So,
where Maggie's at currently and what is left hanging and get a more clarification on that. Kind of floating numbers, and we're telling leaders basically, like what they gave her for notes.
And
Yeah.
the report that she's provided tonight
Yeah.
is inaccurate, we can't really use the monitoring.
Potentially, that it may have been put in some different buckets. I mean, Donna's been here a little bit to see.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, again, you know, all I'm giving is,
Well, we have one specific example of the appraisal, we know was in
The wrong bucket, yeah.
right, and that might be the only error. So, you know, I would say, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Howard, I'm just saying, right now, we don't have a set of numbers that are correct for the year to date. That's all I'm saying.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
But So what happens, the auditors come in, the audit is corrected, and then November, December, the budget numbers get adjusted, and everything is hopefully put in the audit. Which are about to do.
The years are closed. They're auditing that copy. Like, they're doing,
Yeah, they're going.
Well, I know they were coming in, auditing 23, 24.
No, they won't, they'll do 24. Fiscal year 24, when they come in January.
Yeah, so they did
Right,
23.
June was 20, or July 23, or June was 20.
No,
Yes, July 23.
yes.
So what I'm saying is 25 year budget numbers really don't get corrected until sort of the end of the year. because it's a
After
lot
the
of
close
that.
of the year, after the close of the year.
Right, but I'm talking about 25 year.
And the 25 budget now, they just hired somebody to come in and try to straighten things out going forward.
So hopefully we'll know how 24 ended, because we don't know that yet.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. The 25 year budget ought to be static, and what the board voted on, and everybody approved. So that's static, it's just your actual to what could change, but your budget is your budget.
That's
Yeah.
So your budget's okay, but,
It's not the case. So when the reports get run.
so the budget in the system is not what was approved, I mean,
So we're playing catch up on that.
Okay.
All right, look at accounts payable now and we'll get back where Maggie's at with that.
Happy anniversary.
Did you have that accounts payable on AP timesheet?
Yeah.
At the end here?
Yeah. Okay,
All these?
yes,
And all the bills are,
yep, all the bills are here.
so if anybody wants to see them.
So there's a bill for $3,500 for legal consultants, in the solar field. That comes out of our solar money pot. Outstanding is $1,485.
So Melissa, do you remember, just so I can clarify, like Wendy and John were talking about, they'd sit here and, just curious, and you would sit, you'd look at the Blue Cross Blue Shield. You'd look at that and then you'd go to when that was paid.
Well, for starters.
This is timesheets, this is different, but this is their hours work.
Bill itself, and make sure that it's
Usually you pay.
So Blue Cross Blue Shield, office health insurance, and then there's more than we need to look at? Right, like on the, right, okay.
That's your first step, yeah. You know, in some boards have a larger board, one of them is the finance person.
Yeah.
Who then will sit and look at all those bills, they do the quality check on them, or income check on them, and then they sign off, yes, I've gone through exactly what you're doing, so that when you come to the board meeting, then you have that assurance that that's happening.
Okay. So right now, we've just got, I mean, given to us and then go through, I mean, you go through these, Maggie, and then we look at
Who's gonna pay for that?
coded all that.
No,
No, they have to get approved before they're paid. All right, here you go, dude. Ready?
Did you used to do this? I remember we went through and did like, go through, tell me if anything doesn't look right, like match the citizens, but then it was all like verbal between you, me and Teresa, that's what we really do.
Okay, $78.64 from Advanced Auto Parts.
Yeah.
I got an Obashan here for
No, the check.
Checks haven't gone out yet.
I see, I did, I always wrote the check.
So there's something that the check after, that's the point.
Exactly, so I had the checks.
But at the meet and then,
Emirates did, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did like QuickBooks.
The check is present. You can see that the check had the right amount, had the name to the actual vendor, as well as the amount of time, so you saw.
that's what I was asking, like, because it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess it,
Well, if you want to see the checks, we can attach them next time.
We use it
we haven't paid yet. That's what we're saying, like, until
They're done, they're.
they're ready.
In this, they're in the.
Okay, yep, yep. No, I like having accountants in the building. It's good.
All right.
No, I'm serious, like, I mean, this, yeah,
You got Obashan hardware there?
yeah,
1,411.96.
yeah.
You got Blue Cross Blue Shield at 5,662.95.
Yes, there's
Those
two of
are
those.
negotiating in advance.
Yep.
So, okay, yeah.
Got a bunch of things from Citizens Bank, like $285.50.
Those are credit cards.
Credit card statement. Okay, let's go on to Everett Prescott. That would be $10,318.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the June flood.
Right.
July flooding.
Yep. Fastenal for $590 and change.
Yeah.
Fisher Auto Parts of $78.45.
Yeah,
$670 for our Mountain Power.
Yeah.
Which covers our items. Green Mountain Power, $14.45.
Yep.
That's the charging station. SimQuest, $151.23.
Yeah.
Milton Cat, loader, $145.21. Delta Dental, $250.31.
that's,
P&P Septic, $160.
hold on. Oh, yeah, I got that, okay, 160.
Panoramic Landscaping, $16,000.
Culverts,
Yep.
anyone's wondering? Anyone's seen some broken culverts out there?
Renee Frontier, this is snowplow blades, $241.67.
Yeah.
United Construction and Forestry, $132.85.
Yeah,
Cot System, $185.
Yeah.
BPS Vision,
VSP, should be 4.
BSP.
Yeah.
$52.87. And it looks like there's multiple.
Yeah, it should be 4. 2 different months.
Yep, I have another one here, that's somebody else. 105.74. Waitsfield Telecom, $621.25. Waitsfield Telecom, this would be the office, $321.96. Waitsfield Telecom, July 16th, $318.71. Waitsfield Telecom, $158.32. Let's see, town of Penn accounts payable, what is this?
Oh, that's just,
Payroll and taxes of $2,407.37. Jackman Fuel, signed off contract.
Yep.
And $1,500.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for the Jackman Fuels?
No, the one, the, warrant from last time.
Oh, yeah, I did sign it.
Sign that.
Hold on, I gotta keep all this stuff together here. I'll be well anyway. Okay. Let's just all the stuff together. All right. No trees.
How's Jeff Stone doing? Haven't heard his name in a while. Good?
Yeah.
Good.
Lucky we have.
Yes. Time sheets.
You looked at these?
Mhm.
Okay. Okey-doke. All right, I'd like to have a motion to approve the accounts payable warrants, time sheets, and or payrolls for the LAC involving the rule review of escrow payment and the payroll of $7,684.
Yep, make that
AP
motion.
to be determined.
I'll make the motion to approve. Warrant time sheets payroll.
I will second that. All in favor?
Zach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That kind of ends our regular meeting. And we like to make a motion, move in executive session to talk personnel and legal matters. Sorry, Zach.
We're good.
Teresa. Okay, she's gonna kill me.
That herself.
On the executive session, yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody's input. We appreciate your knowledge, but again,
8:04.
kind of takes a community to help us do all these things, because
I second that.
there's a lot of stuff to do, and there's, you know, not a lot of people helping.
Yeah, Don, you had that. Howard made a motion. I'll second that.
Yeah.
Kathy, this one.
Appreciate you,
Thank you.
time you put in.
I know.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I know it's not primetime TV, but
It could be better, could be worse.
Could I invite Mary,
What?
I'd
invite Mary to executive session.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks, man.
Absolutely. Hold on.
Second order of business, I made a bunch of notes on the minutes. I did not in any shape, I couldn't hand them
For
to
last
you.
minute as well.
Yeah, the ones I asked you not to approve.
Yeah, I couldn't approve it.
Yeah, I know that Melissa sent you a summary. She's probably got more detail on what she sent, I think she sent it just.
Told that
before the
FEMA,
meeting.
it just,
Um,
FEMA did pass.
You want, how do you want to do this?
So we'll have to go in and meeting. Yeah, we're gonna give a file for Maggie and section, and if you wanna put notes, say.
Well, yeah, I need to clean this up, because I did this.
Do you wanna leave that or just?
No, I'll clean it up.
Send it. So
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
we got 2 weeks, so it won't be approved until.
And then I.
Oh, I thought they said that.
Which is probably more coherent than mine. But at least I don't have to.
This stuff isn't considered.
There you go.
Secondary.
So what I'm talking about secondary, or is it,
Yes.
even though it,
was a problem.
Problem for you, but it's not a problem for people who use it.
And yeah, some of them had the hard.
So I just don't know where I should go next. Should I keep calling them? He came out right away.
Yeah.
But he passed the buck, told me to call 211.
Yeah, well, why I want you to do that, thank you for putting the chairs away, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What it does is puts that on the tab for Addison County, because we have to reach a certain threshold. But let's say hypothetically, we need to have like $2 million worth of damages in Addison County. And so every time you call, or every time that happens, they go, oh, that culvert's gonna cost $1,200 to fix. So they put that in the checkbook, and then that adds the number,
How do
so.
I know, is it my responsibility or the state? Because I feel it's the state. He even said, oh, we had a culvert there. I've been there for 32 years. No, it's not. There's never been a culvert there. On the other side, and it's, when they raised the road, they left. So you just, should I just keep calling or?
I would get them out there and, I would try, if that doesn't work.
No, he came out and I showed him, he saw it. It was very apparent.
And then he goes, oh yeah, we're gonna replace this.
No, he didn't say anything. He gave me a number, 211, and I was on the phone with her, and I kept him there. And I said, are you passing the buck? Because I still cost me $4,000.
I got it, yeah.
And I think it should not be me at all, or I don't own, they own it.
Yeah, and I would say it would also probably be, maybe you can talk to Rick Kuchar.
He's my cousin, he's my first cousin. I know him very personally.
You talk to him about that and maybe he can give you some guidance. I have not dealt with FEMA too much, other than big stuff, big disasters, and
He's got a lot going on. I don't.
it's okay. That's
He's
what.
got a lot going on. I know.
No, that's what
I know it's his job,
yeah,
but
that's what
why
he's
would I buy it? Because we're kind of like.
he might be able to help you
Because I'm on
navigate.
22A, so I feel like I'm not a paying resident because I feel like.
I get it, but again, he might be able to help you navigate or actually make some phone calls.
That's my idea.
So I would start with him, just talk to him about it, and if he says he's overwhelmed and can't help you, then probably come back to me and we'll go. from there.
I'm overwhelmed
Okay?
because that's a big chunk.
I got it, I got it.
That's a big chunk.
I
But
got it.
but I want it done right. I'm a farm girl, so.
I get it, right or wrong, don't do it right or don't do it at all,
Well, I wasn't gonna do it. I was gonna figure it out or swim it.
Okay,
But thank you for your idea about the EMT, because my husband was one in California. I was here, and I think it's needed. It's just the money.
it's a problem, it's a problem. Okay,
Have we broken, there's no one on the phone?
Do I need to shut that off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
just,
Just really quickly, so I heard from Addison County Regional Planning.
Who?
and Addison County Regional Planning. so
Yep.
As you know, I'm on that board as a commissioner. So the bottom line is with respect to the vote that we're going to have on the solar.